Chapter 206. Feng Qinzong looked at Lei Xingfeng in surprise. You saw through it? Lei Xingfeng laughed. I guessed he. Feng Qinzong was amused. Smart kid. Ha, that's right. I let it out because I didn't have time to wait. I had to take a risk. Lei Xingfeng said, Of course you succeeded. This flattery hit the nail on the head. Feng Qinzong beamed with joy. Yes, I succeeded. Hee, I didn't think I'd succeed so quickly. Lei Xingfeng said, Soon, there will be monarchs coming. As long as they can confirm that there are sky crystals here, there won't be any ninth ring sage left. Everyone's expression turned ugly. Exai Jaloin said, A phone why? Lei Xingfeng said, It's simple. Monarchs don't want a large number of monarchs to appear. They'd rather seal off this place. Even if they want to get the sky crystals, they'll have to find a way to get it. Once a ninth ring sage becomes a monarch, they can set up their own sections. At that time, they'll have to compete with their seniors for resources. Perhaps others can't see it clearly, but Lei Xingfeng can see it very clearly. This was related to the knowledge of his previous life. In Lei Xingfeng's previous life, all resources were controlled by the country or big shots. Normal people didn't have the right to get them. This was something that most people in his previous life understood. Xian Jialuan smiled bitterly. It can't be. If that's the case, I have to get a sky crystal this time. Otherwise, there's no hope. Lei Xingfeng nodded. Yes, but there are a few prerequisites. Someone must break the stone egg that contains the sky crystal. You must be there. You must be fast. Yes, just like eldest senior brother. You must quickly put everything around the sky crystal into your hidden Luin space. Senior brother, do you think you can do it? Xian Jialuan was immediately discouraged. He smiled bitterly and said, Eldest senior brother, you're still the best. Feng Qinzong laughed. Good luck. Perhaps it was because a phone was beside me that all my plans worked. He was going crazy with joy. After so many years, he finally succeeded. This kind of joy was no small matter. Xian Jialuan nodded and said, Yes, I might have really benefited from it. Every time I go out with a phone, something good happens. Unfortunately, my luck is a little bad this time. Rumbling sounds could still be heard from afar. Lei Xingfeng said, Not many of these people will be able to survive unless the sect takes action and brings them back. This place is too evil. Feng Qinzong said, This place was very famous in ancient times. The slaughter field is the name of this place. In the beginning, this place was called the Great Stone Field, also known as the slaughter field. But no one would have thought that the slaughter field was a name passed down from ancient times. Perhaps in ancient times, this place was like now, with countless experts killing each other. Xian Jialuan was a little anxious. The sky crystal was too useful. As long as he got it, he could almost steadily advance. This kind of temptation was something he couldn't get rid of. Feng Qinzong said, Let's wait for Master to come and see if there's still a chance. Hearing this, Xian Jialuan calmed down a little. He was also thinking that perhaps Master would have a way. Lei Xingfeng understood that this was Feng Qinzong's excuse. He didn't want to enter the center of the great stone field again. It was too dangerous, especially since he already had the sky crystal. He was even more cautious. Even if he had a good relationship with Xian Jialuan, he wouldn't take the risk for him. Xian Jialuan said, If Master isn't willing to help, then what do we do? Feng Qinzong's face reddened. He didn't know how to answer Xian Jialuan. Lei Xingfeng knew that Xian Jialuan was an unstable explosive right now. Plus, this place was evil. If he had any ideas, it would be infinitely magnified. If things went wrong, he might have a falling out with Feng Qinzong. This wasn't something he wanted to see. Lei Xingfeng said, Actually, it doesn't matter if we can't find the sky crystal for now. Xian Jialuan immediately looked at Lei Xingfeng. A trace of dissatisfaction flashed in his eyes. He said, How does it not matter? Jin Daya quietly pulled Lei Xingfeng's lapel, indicating that he shouldn't say anything. Lei Xingfeng paused. Third senior apprentice brother, you have to understand one thing. Eldest senior apprentice brother obtained the sky crystal this time. You should know what it means, Xian Jialuan said. Of course I know. Feng Qinzong obtained the sky crystal. It meant that he would definitely ascend to the monarch level. Everyone present understood this. Lei Xingfeng laughed. Then it's very simple, huh? Xian Jialuan was also confused. His brain couldn't wrap itself around it. Feng Shenzong was also confused. What's simple? Lei Xingfeng said. A ninth ring sage might find the sky crystal, but a monarch? If a monarch helps, third senior apprentice brother won't have to worry about not having the sky crystal. In an instant, both Feng Shenzong and Xian Jialuan understood. If Feng Shenzong ascended, not only would it benefit Xian Jialuan, it would also benefit Lei Xingfeng. Just based on the efforts of Xian Jialuan and Lei Xingfeng, after Feng Shenzong ascended, he wouldn't be able to ignore them. This was a debt of gratitude. As the saying goes, don't owe a debt of gratitude. This was the most difficult debt to repay. Feng Shenzong looked at Lei Xingfeng with appreciation. Junior apprentice brother, don't worry. As long as I ascend, I will find a way to help you find a sky crystal. All the dissatisfaction in Xian Jialuan's heart disappeared. He smiled. Thank you, senior apprentice brother. An invisible disaster was resolved by Lei Xingfeng. Feng Shenzong continued. Feng, I accept this favor. Haha, if there's anything you can't solve in the future, come find me. I will help you. Lei Xingfeng laughed. Thank you, senior apprentice brother. Haha, if you ascend, I want to use the hidden door in the future, Feng Shenzong said straightforwardly. Okay, no problem. The deal was quickly made. For cultivators, a promise was very important, especially to those close to them. Lei Xingfeng and Xian Jialuan both smiled. This was the best result. Everyone was satisfied. Jean Dias suddenly said, something's wrong. The sound is getting softer. Everyone listened carefully. There were originally rumbling sounds, but now it gradually quieted down. Occasionally, there would be one or two explosions, and then there was dead silence. Feng Shenzong frowned. What's going on? Xian Jialuan guessed. Could it be a monarch? Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment, then shook his head. It's not a monarch. A monarch shouldn't have that much of a deterrent. Those people are already crazy from killing. They won't care about the threat. Plus, a monarch's strength will be suppressed here. They won't be able to control the situation unless there are 8 or 10 monarchs. I don't think that's possible. Feng Shenzong agreed. It shouldn't be a monarch. Strange, what kind of thing could scare off so many experts? Boom! Rumble, the entire ground shook, and the stone eggs on the ground jumped. Everyone looked at each other. Lei Xingfeng said, what is it? Boom! Another tremor was heard, and the ground shook. Everyone started to get nervous. The whole ground was jumping. This wasn't a good feeling. Even a monarch's attack couldn't make the whole ground jump. Lei Xingfeng couldn't resist his curiosity. Should we go take a look? Feng Shenzong thought for a moment. No, we can't go. We can only wait here. It's safer here, and it's easier to leave this world. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly, but he didn't insist. Xian Jialuan said, how much time do we have before Master can come? Feng Shenzong said, I've already sent out the location signal. Master should have received it. It takes time to open the door. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, is it here? Feng Shenzong said, the precise location is where I'm standing. I just need to stay here long enough for the door to open. It won't be more than 100 meters away. You don't understand it yet. When you become a 9th ring sage, there are some things you can learn. Boom, boom, the ground shook violently. Everyone immediately flew up and hovered about a meter above the ground. The stone eggs seemed to be placed on an oscillator. They kept jumping. Feng Shenzong said, something's wrong. Let's retreat. Xian Jialuan said, but it's not time yet. Forget it, let's retreat. He also realized something was wrong. The stone eggs on the ground were all jumping. It looked very scary. He didn't know what was causing the shaking. The 12 of them quickly flew into the distance, each of them using their full strength. With Xian Feng's strength, he could directly release his lightning stamp, enveloping himself in lightning. His speed was much faster than the others. Feng Shenzong was shocked. Damn, Feng's speed is unbelievable. He's even faster than me. Lei Xingfeng realized that his Lei Yin was really different. Once he used it, his speed was like lightning. In an instant, he was far away. Boom, 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 countless shaking sounds came. The stone eggs on the ground jumped even higher, making a neat clattering sound. What a strange cry came. Feng Qinzong's face changed completely. He was the most knowledgeable person here. Just by hearing the sound, he knew what it was. He said in horror, "Quick, quick, let's get out of here." Whoa, oh whoa, Lei Xingfeng was confused. "What's that? It's scary." Feng Qinzong cursed. "Shit, we're screwed. It's a star beast. Why the F asterisk CK? Why is there a star beast here? Let's F asterisk king run." Lei Xingfeng heard a trace of panic in Feng Qinzong's voice. To make Feng Qinzong panic, this star beast was definitely not to be trifled with. When everyone heard the word star beast, their faces changed. Even if they hadn't seen a star beast, they had heard of its horror. And it was all kinds of horror. If anyone below ninth ring sage encountered a star beast, there was only one word for it: death. Chapter 207. When a ninth ring sage encounters a star beast, if you run fast enough, you might be able to survive. Of course, the premise is that you run fast enough and the star beast doesn't chase after you. This was why Feng Qinzong ran as soon as he heard the roar. Lei Xingfeng was secretly glad that he didn't look. If he did, he wouldn't even have the chance to escape. Walala, walala, Hexen Feng turned his head to look and exclaimed in shock, "What the fuck? He's crazy." Everyone turned their heads to look at the source of his voice, and they were all stunned. The stone eggs on the ground jumped at least 7 to 8 meters high. It was a rhythmic jump, as if the ground was a dustpan that someone was shaking with all their might. This wasn't the most shocking thing. The most terrifying thing was that in the distance, countless stone eggs actually flew into the air and began to spin rapidly in a certain direction, sucking in the stone eggs that had jumped up from the ground. It was like a tornado, but no one felt wind. The stone eggs spun in the air in a way that no one could understand. They spun faster and faster. Lei Xingfeng immediately understood. If the stone eggs sped up to a certain speed, even if he activated all his defenses, he wouldn't be able to stop them. He exclaimed, "If it's inside, it's a terrifying mill. Anything that enters will be ground to dust." Feng Qinzong yelled, "Stop F asterisk king looking. Run." They were still a few thousand meters away from the whirlpool, so the further they ran, the safer they would be. As for what kind of star beast was in the center of the whirlpool, they didn't want to know. The 12 of them fled frantically. At this moment, a few cultivators escaped from the back. If there were originally 100 of them, it would be considered good if 2 or 3 of them could escape. Based on this ratio, only 2 or 3% of the cultivators could escape. It was really a heavy loss. Lei Xingfeng utilized Lei Yin's abilities to the extreme. His speed wasn't just for show. Even Feng Qinzong, who was about to become a monarch, could barely keep up. They originally thought that Lei Xingfeng would be a burden, but now they knew that they were the ones holding him back. This little guy was super good at running and flew like lightning. In just a few minutes, the 12 of them had escaped the danger zone and arrived at a relatively safe place. Looking at the spectacular scene in the distance, Lei Xingfeng said, "Let's go back quickly. This place is too scary." Feng Qinzong said, "I've repositioned it and sent it to Master." They didn't know how he did it, but that wasn't important. With Feng Qinzong here, they didn't have to worry about going back. They all stretched their necks to look at the terrifying scene in the distance. Everyone was talking, but they couldn't guess what kind of star beast it was. One had to know that there were countless types of star beasts. There were powerful ones and ordinary ones. This star beast should be quite powerful. Just by looking at its ability to control stone eggs, one could tell that a ninth ring sage was no match for it. Probably only a monarch could deal with it. Lei Xingfeng secretly sighed. He had entered 2 worlds through a secret door, and neither of them had been easy. It was far worse than his own world. At least in this world, as long as one had a 6th ring sage body, they would be very safe. Clattering sounds came from afar. It was the sound of stone eggs rubbing against each other. Lei Xingfeng said, "No wonder there's stone eggs everywhere. So that's how they came to be. What a powerful star beast." When the cultivators who were escaping from the back saw this group of people, they all avoided them. Even if they took a detour, they did not dare to charge at them directly. The fact that they could gather 12 people at this time meant that they were extremely powerful. However, They did not know that these 12 people did not rush out from the stone egg vortex. After about half an hour, a secret door suddenly appeared. Feng Qinzong let out a breath and said, "They're here." Gucci and Wu Yang appeared together. Gucci waved his hand, and the secret door disappeared. He said, "You found the star beast, right?" "Haha." Lei Xingfeng hurried forward and said, "Greetings, Master." "Greetings, Founder." Master, how did you know there was a star beast?" Wu Yang stared at the stone egg vortex in the distance and said, "You came in. Of course your master could sense it. With such a huge fluctuation, your master came to find me. There really is a star beast here." At this time, secret doors appeared one after another. The disciples who escaped all sent out location signals. Soon after, monarchs appeared in this world. Although star beasts were extremely powerful, star beasts were extremely attractive to true monarchs. If they could kill a star beast, even if they had to work together with others to kill a star beast, the harvest would be exaggerated. Gucci said, "Zong, did you get it?" Feng Qinzong said, "Sort of, but I need to go back and check. I'm not sure if I really got it." Gucci nodded and said, "You guys go back first. It's too dangerous to stay here." Lei Xingfeng was originally in a hurry to leave, but when he saw his master and founder come together, he didn't want to leave. He wanted to see how monarchs fought. He already felt that his master and founder wanted to hunt the star beast. Gucci saw Lei Xingfeng's eyes darting around and knew what he wanted to do. He smiled and said, "Don't even think about it. If you want to watch a monarch fight, you only have one chance. Well, if you see it, you're done for. Just go back." Founder Wu Yang couldn't help but smile. He said, "Your master is doing this for your own good. Even if you see a monarch fight, it's nothing. But if you get caught in the shock waves, you won't be able to resist. You're dead for sure. It's better not to watch and go back." Lei Xingfeng realized that he didn't even have the qualifications to watch. Feng Qinzong didn't want to stay either. Now that he had the sky crystal, he just wanted to go back and find it. With all the random things he had collected, it would take at least 10 days to clean them all up and find the sky crystal. He had to find a lot of people to help him clean up. He had put everything in a radius of 10 meters into his hidden Lun space. Only he could do that. A ninth ring sage's hidden Lun space had enough space. If it was Lei Xingfeng doing it, he probably wouldn't be able to. His hidden Lun space was already filled with a lot of resources. At least a third of them were food and water. Gucci opened the secret door and said, "Okay, let's go back." Lei Xingfeng didn't try to stay. He was the first to step into the secret door. Everyone else followed. After the last person left, Gucci smiled and said, "Master, let's go take a look. I haven't seen a star beast in a long time. It's really hard to find. I didn't think that the outer world coordinates, Zong, would have a star beast hiding there. Haha, I think the monarchs who heard the news will all rush over." Wu Yang said, "Don't be in a hurry. I don't think this star beast is easy to deal with. Let's wait for the other monarchs to make a move first. There's no need for us to go first." Gucci nodded. "Okay, let's see how strong this star beast is first." Gradually, more and more monarchs came out. Many of them knew each other, especially Wu Yang. If Lei Xingfeng and the others were here, they would probably be scared stiff. Many monarchs respectfully called Wu Yang Sr. when they saw him. This was a real big shot. Some monarchs couldn't hold back anymore. They invited a few familiar friends to test the star beast's strength. One of the monarchs threw out a huge hammer in his hand and shouted, "Open for me." The giant hammer suddenly grew in size until it was 10 to 20 meters tall. It rolled towards the stone egg vortex like rain hitting a banana leaf. Crackling sounds could be heard. In an instant, a portion of the rapidly spinning stone egg was blocked. Immediately, a small gap appeared, allowing the people outside to vaguely see the scene in the center. With just a glance, Wu Yang said, "It turns out to be a stone star beast. No wonder there's so many stone eggs here. Interesting. This stone star beast should be a cub. This should be a nest of the stone star beast." Gucci asked, "Master, is it worth it?" Wu Yang hesitated and said, "As long as it's a star beast, it's worth it. However, I have some doubts. This is only a cub. It should still have parents. If that's the case, it'll be very difficult to fight. The defense of a mature stone star beast is too abnormal. Normal monarchs can't kill them. Gucci smiled and said, "But you're still here." Wu Yang said, "I'm not interested in stone star beasts. If it's other star beasts, maybe I'll be interested." Gucci smiled and said, "I know you've killed star beasts before, but I haven't. This time, I'll give it a try." Wu Yang said, "Star beasts are not easy to kill. However, with your strength, even if you can't kill this cub, you can still avoid it. Well, I'll help you guard it. Of course, you have to give me some of the resources you get." Gucci said without hesitation, "No problem." With his master watching over him, his life wouldn't be in danger. Of course, he was willing. Several monarchs started to attack. Although Gucci said he wanted to go, he still didn't move. His thoughts were clear. He wanted the other monarchs to test it out. If the Stone Star Beast's strength was ordinary, then he might not do anything. As long as someone killed the Stone Star Beast, with his strength, he could definitely get share. As for Wu Yang, he could get a share. With his status and strength, no one dared to underestimate him. Boom, boom, boom. The monarchs first had to clean up the spinning stone eggs. Once these things accelerated to the extreme, even monarchs had to dodge. Fortunately, the Stone Star Beast wasn't an adult yet. If it wanted to accelerate the stone eggs to the extreme, it would take at least a few days. This gave the monarchs an opportunity. Chapter 208. The flesh and blood of cultivators was a great supplement for the Stone Star Beast. The flesh and blood of cultivators that were crushed by the stone eggs were absorbed by the Stone Star Beast. Therefore, when the monarchs started to attack, the Stone Star Beast was not afraid at all. On the contrary, it was very excited. It let out an earth-shattering roar and rushed towards the monarchs. Together with the flying stone eggs, it crashed into the monarchs. Wu Yang laughed. Actually, the Stone Star Beast doesn't have many attacking methods. As long as the stone eggs are suppressed and not allowed to fly, the Stone Star Beast won't be able to do anything. Hee. Gucci said, "I know, but it's very difficult to stop the stone eggs from flying. If it's an adult Stone Star Beast, it won't be able to stop it at all." Wu Yang nodded. He seemed to know the Stone Star Beast very well. He said, "This kind of attack is too weak for the monarchs." A few more monarchs rushed up. There were already 7 or 8 monarchs launching attacks. Wu Yang said, "Yes, with so many monarchs attacking, this Stone Star Beast won't be able to stop them. Look, it's injured." Under the simultaneous attacks of 7 or 8 monarchs, the young Stone Star Beast's defense was broken and it was badly mutilated. Immediately, the Stone Star Beast was enraged. It let out an earth-shattering roar. Following the roar, the stone eggs on the ground jumped up again. They were driven by an unknown force and started to spin crazily. Swoosh, swoosh, the sound of the stone eggs breaking through the air rang out. The monarchs immediately retreated and launched attacks at the same time. This time, they were not targeting the Stone Star Beast, but the flying stone eggs. Under the joint efforts of the monarchs, the flying stone eggs were immediately suppressed. Only a small number of stone eggs were left hovering in the air. However, they were no longer a threat to the monarchs. After losing the protection of the stone eggs, the Stone Star Beast revealed its true appearance. It had a body that was more than 30 meters long and a huge tail that was more than 20 meters long. Its skin was made of stone. Its appearance was very strange. However, it still had 4 thick and short legs, a long crocodile-like mouth, and 2 eyes that were as big as water tanks. They emitted a green-gray light and stared coldly and mercilessly at the tiny people. Wu Yang said, "In a few moments, this Stone Star Beast will be finished." Gucci nodded and said, "Yes, without protection, even if I attack, I can kill them quickly." The 8 monarchs looked at each other and smiled. They were very confident that they could kill this Stone Star Beast. At this moment, Wu Yang's expression changed slightly. He said, "Oh no, there's another Stone Star Beast." He pulled Gucci and quickly retreated a few thousand meters away. Boom, boom, boom. Countless stone eggs suddenly rose from the ground and mysteriously floated in the air. In an instant, the ground sank by more than 10 meters, and countless stone eggs strangely floated in the air. Wu Yang sighed and said, "Let's go back. It'll be too late if we delay any longer." I didn't expect there to be 2 adult stone star beasts. If there was only 1 adult stone star beast, I might be able to deal with it, but 2, forget it. Open the secret door quickly. Although Gucci still didn't understand the situation, he didn't doubt Wu Yang's words. He immediately opened the secret door, and the 2 instantly left through it. As for the other monarchs, Wu Yang wouldn't remind them. If they couldn't figure out the situation, then so be it if they died. With fewer monarchs, there would be less competition. As soon as the 2 of them left, the stone eggs that were suspended in the air shot out like bullets. They flew in all directions, and their power was not something that a young stone star beast could compare with. Even if a true monarch wanted to block it, it would be very difficult. The most important thing was that one could block hundreds or thousands of stone eggs, but could one block tens or hundreds of thousands of stone eggs, continuously shooting at them? Every monarch was running. Fortunately, monarchs were different from ninth ring sages. Their strength was different. It was possible for them to be injured, but it was difficult to kill them. Plus, they had the secret door. If they really couldn't handle it, they could still escape. It was just that forcefully opening the secret door would cause them great losses. When Wu Yang and Gucci came out of the secret door, they immediately saw Lei Xingfeng, Xian Jiaoluan, and Feng Qinzong. They didn't dare to leave after coming out of the secret door. They told the other 9 to leave while the 3 waited. Lei Xingfeng was the youngest. Usually, the master doted on the youngest disciple. So when Lei Xingfeng saw his master and ancestor come out, he immediately asked, "You killed the stone star beast?" "No, the time was too short." "Did something happen?" Wu Yang smiled and said, "Yes, something happened. We were scared back, so we ran fast." "Huh." Gucci explained, "We've gone too far. We can't go to that place anymore. 3 stone star beasts, 2 adults, and 1 child. What you saw was a child stone star beast. Good heavens, 2 adult stone star beasts just came out. That thing is terrifying. Whoever stays, there is an idiot." Lei Xingfeng was also dumbfounded. 3 stone star beasts. Although he didn't know much about stone star beasts, just a child stone star beast could kill countless ninth ring sages. It was better to stay away from adult stone star beasts. He thought it was a pity. That place was where the sky crystal could be found. Xian Jiaoluan's face suddenly turned ugly. The possibility of him obtaining a sky crystal was infinitely close to 0. At the very least, it was impossible to get a sky crystal from the Great Stone Field. Feng Qinzong was restless. He had wanted to leave for a long time. There should be a sky crystal in the hidden Luin space. He needed to find someone to pick it out. Among all the rocks, finding a sky crystal would take a lot of effort. It was like finding a grain of gold in a basin of sand. It was very difficult. Luckily, he was sure there was one, so he could be patient and search for it. Lei Xingfeng said, "We can't go there anymore." Wu Yang slapped Lei Xingfeng's head and laughed. "Go there to court death. There's so many of them in the outside world. What's so fun about the Great Stone Field?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Ah, what a pity." Wu Yang laughed. "There's nothing to pity. It's good this way. If we find too many sky crystals, it will cause chaos and killing." Xian Jiaoluan said, "How can there be too many? Eldest senior brother searched for 17 years and only found 1 sky crystal this time. I didn't even see the shadow of a sky crystal." Wu Yang was immediately amused. He said, Zong's luck is not bad. He played for 17 years and didn't get anything. This time, he got in one go. Feng Qinzong said, "Isn't it because of Feng? If it wasn't for him, I might not have gotten it. A Feng's luck is good." Lei Xingfeng thought, "He's dragging me into this too?" Eldest senior brother is really cunning. But he didn't refute because he didn't know where to start. Gucci said, "Interesting. Zong, let me see what a sky crystal looks like." Even though he was a monarch, he had never seen a sky crystal before. Feng Qinzong's face suddenly turned bitter. He said, "Master, I can't take it out." Gucci said, "What's wrong? Are you afraid that I'll steal your sky crystal?" Feng Qinzong was shocked. He said, "No, master, it's like this." He explained the whole situation, then said, "So I took a bunch of random things and piled them up in my hidden lens space. I can't take them out in a short time. Once I find them, I'll come to you and show you." Wu Yang praised, Very smart robbery method. Not bad, as expected of your master's eldest disciple. Hearing this, Lei Xingfeng was speechless. Who praises people like this? Even Gucci was full of praise, thinking that Feng Shenzong was very smart. At a time like this, one should rob without hesitation. Otherwise, one would regret it for the rest of one's life. In the end, Lei Xingfeng realized that in this world, those who were strong by hook or by crook wouldn't be criticized. This also reminded him that if he found a sky crystal or Saint Crystal, it was best not to leave any trace. He originally planned to give a sky crystal to Xi and Jialuan, but now he completely dispelled that idea. If he gave it to Xi and Jialuan and the other senior brothers and sisters came to ask for it, how would he deal with them? If he didn't give it to them, even if they didn't become enemies, they wouldn't gain anything. In this world, there wasn't a single cultivator who didn't want to become stronger. It was no wonder that Feng Shenzong could search for sky crystals in the Great Stone Fields for 17 years. Even if he didn't stay for 17 years, Lei Xingfeng was extremely impressed. He had only been in the Great Stone Field for 10 days, and he was already extremely impatient. He didn't think that Feng Shenzong would be so persistent. Feng Shenzong excitedly rushed out. He comforted Xi and Jialuan and said a few words to Lei Xingfeng before leaving in a hurry. When he left, his face was full of smiles. Obviously, his mood was extremely good. Lei Xingfeng also said goodbye to Xi and Jialuan and took Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love back to his home. Sitting in the living room, Jean Dia sighed and said, "We didn't get anything. Sai, even if there are some other mines, even if we find sky crystals, we won't get share. By the way, a phone. If there's a chance in the future, can we go there ourselves?" Jean Dia and the other two were outside and didn't see Wu Yang come out of the secret door, so they didn't know about the changes in the Great Stone Fields. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love also showed a trace of yearning. Lei Xingfeng shook his head and said, "We can't go. There's a major change in the Great Stone Fields." Jean Dia said, "What change? That star beast wasn't killed?" Lei Xingfeng said, "It's not that it was killed, but that 2 adult stone star beasts came. The one we saw was a young stone star beast, but the monarchs besieged it and attracted 2 adult stone star beasts. So, before we could see the result, Master and Founder ran back. He was too embarrassed to say that the 2 escaped back." Jean Dia was stunned. He was different from Mad Eagle and Tiger Love. He had no other choice but to join Lei Xingfeng. He needed the Yin Ring to extend his life every year. If he could get St. Crystals, he would have a chance to advance. Even if the chance was less than half, he would choose to advance without hesitation. Even if he died, he wouldn't regret it. Chapter 209. However, this path was completely gone. Of course, Jean Dia was very disappointed. Jean Dia was not the only one disappointed. Even Mad Eagle and Tiger Love looked disappointed. Mad Eagle said self-deprecatingly, "I can't help but want things that I can't get. If there's a heaven crystal, I'll choose to advance too. Even if I die, it'll be worth it." Tiger Love said, "If you die, it'll be a waste of a heaven crystal." Mad Eagle said angrily, "I'm saying if. Don't you understand? If I advance, I'll make a killing." Tiger Love smiled and said, "All right, that's if. Lei Xingfeng was also amused. He said, "That's right, that's if. Actually, I can understand Uncle Ying's thoughts. If I advance, the world will be different from then on." Mad Eagle said, "A phone, don't worry. If I advance, even if I become a perfected lord, I won't leave. I'll still choose to be your guard." Jean Dia smiled and said, "Are you serious? That's a little exaggerated. Yes, I'm saying if you advance, who would dare to use a perfected lord as a guard?" Mad Eagle raised his hand and punched him. He scolded, "Big teeth. You don't have big teeth, you have a big mouth." Immediately, Lei Xingfeng and Tiger Love laughed. Jean Dia was not angry. He rubbed his shoulder and said with a smile, "My mouth is big to begin with. A big mouth eats everything. In my hometown, this is a lucky person. That's why a big mouth is a big mouth." Mad Eagle also laughed. He said, "Forget it. I can't be bothered to argue with you." Jean Diaz said, "To be honest, if a phone can find a heaven crystal for me, I'm saying if I can advance, I'll continue to be a guard." Mad Eagle rolled his eyes and said, "Dream on. Give you a heaven crystal? Do you think it's so easy to find heaven crystals?" A Feng's first senior brother searched for 17 years, but he could not find the great stone quarry that produced heavenly crystals. This time, he took advantage of the situation and snatched a heavenly crystal. "Don't let your imagination run wild." Jean Diaz said, "I don't care about the others, but I don't know why, but I have confidence in a phone." Tiger Love suddenly said, "It's strange. I also have this kind of confidence." Their words made Lei Xingfeng's scalp go numb. Needless to say, both of them were right. Lei Xingfeng had indeed found heaven crystals and even saint crystals. Moreover, he had a certain amount of them, but he didn't dare to take them out. Mad Eagle was stunned for a moment before he said, "I think I'm confident too." Jean Diaz said, "Not resolute enough. We all believe in it, but only you seem to be confident." Mad Eagle said angrily, "Hey, Big Tooth, do you have anything against me today?" Jean Diaz raised his hand and said, "No, I don't dare to have anything against you." Tiger Love laughed and said, "Old Eagle, don't follow his rhythm. You're at a disadvantage." Mad Eagle reacted and said, "Tiger is still the best to me." Jean Diaz shivered and said, "So mushy." Lei Xingfeng waved his hand and said, "Okay, it's time to rest. It's been a tiring journey." The three of them returned to their rooms to rest. They were indeed tired during this period of time. Lei Xingfeng returned to his room. He couldn't sleep at all. He sat on the animal skin cushion and played with a stone egg in his hand. He knew that there was something in the stone egg, but he didn't dare to open it. What a joke. Once he opened it, there would definitely be fluctuations. At that time, all the masters in the secret treasure space would probably sense it. After pondering for a long time, Lei Xingfeng decided to leave temporarily and find a secret place to open the stone egg. No matter what, this thing was too precious, especially for a ninth ring sage. It was a fatal temptation. He didn't doubt that if Xianjialuan knew that he had the sky crystal and that he didn't want to give it away, he would definitely use any means to get it. He didn't dare to take the risk and didn't want to have a conflict with his senior brother. The best way was to leave the secret treasure space. He couldn't even bring anyone with him. Whether it was Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, or Tiger Love, he couldn't bring anyone with him. After thinking for a long time, Lei Xingfeng decided to leave, and he would leave immediately. He planned to go to the Wanxi continent and open the sky crystal underwater. There probably wouldn't be any fluctuations there. The Wanxi continent was very close to the secret treasure space, so Lei Xingfeng quickly arrived at a lake. This time, he didn't bring the 3 guards with him. Instead, he asked a servant to tell them that he was going out for a walk and would be back soon. Lei Xingfeng, who had reached the 7th ring sage body, was basically invincible. Moreover, there were very few 9th ring sages in this world. Most of them had gone to the outer world and didn't have much time to wander around this world. Lei Xingfeng was very safe here. Lei Xingfeng didn't need to row a boat. He flew all the way. He was very emotional. In just a short decade, he had already stepped into the ranks of high-level sages. Lei Xingfeng had already learned how to locate, so as long as he had been to a place before, he wouldn't get lost. He followed the lake and headed north. The speed of flying and rowing were 2 completely different concepts. The speed was extremely fast, and Lei Xingfeng was of the lightning attribute, so he flew as fast as lightning. In less than half a day, Lei Xingfeng had flown thousands of miles away. Lei Xingfeng's mood improved a lot when he came to the cool and humid lake from the hot and dry Great Stone Fields. In the Great Stone Fields, there was always an invisible pressure that made it easy for him to lose his mental balance. However, here, Lei Xingfeng's mood was adjusted to the best possible state of mind. From afar, he saw many small boats rowing in one direction. Lei Xingfeng flew into the sky and looked into the distance. Soon, he saw a small town on the water. He was very familiar with this kind of town. When he first landed in the Wanxi continent, he saw this kind of town on the water. It was very common in the Wanxi continent. Soon, Lei Xingfeng flew to a place not far from the town on the water. Then, He landed and flashed to the street of the town. The so-called street of the town was a road made of thick planks. He could see the lake below through the cracks of the planks. The street was very narrow, and the houses on both sides were densely packed. They were built in a variety of shapes and sizes. There were no formal architects here. They were all made of planks and tried to piece them together. There were really all kinds of houses. The only thing lacking was beauty. The street was filled with the unique, fishy smell of the town on the water. Salted fish and dried shrimps were hung in every house. The smell was full of damp, salty, and fishy. Lei Xingfeng felt that this smell was very familiar. The town on the water was full of local fishermen, and very few outsiders entered. Therefore, Lei Xingfeng was really very eye-catching. In addition, his clothes were too gorgeous, which made him even more eye-catching. Lei Xingfeng knew that this kind of remote town would definitely be occupied by cultivators. However, they were all low-level cultivators. With his current appearance, there would definitely be people coming to interact with him. As expected, before he walked to the pier, a person dressed like a butler came up to him with a smile. Lei Xingfeng stopped and looked at that person with a calm expression. That person said very humbly, "Excuse me, Senior, are you a cultivator?" His dressing was something that only cultivators would wear. Moreover, he appeared suddenly and did not come to the town on a small boat. He would definitely be mistaken as a cultivator. Lei Xingfeng said indifferently, "Yes, did your master invite me?" That person bowed and said, "Yes, my master invites you to meet him." With Lei Xingfeng's status, it was impossible for him to ignore the other party. However, Lei Xingfeng did not have such thoughts. He had no interest in this town at all. The only reason he agreed to meet the local cultivator was because he had not eaten yet. It would be good to find a place to eat. He said, "Lead the way." It was a small courtyard built at the edge of the town. It was a very simple house with a total of 6 rooms. There was also a wooden platform. There were a few small boats tied to the platform. There was not even a single big boat. It was very dilapidated. Lei Xingfeng judged that even if there were cultivators here, their levels would not be high. A butler and 2 servants. This cultivator was really too shabby. This was a Wanluan sure. Lei Xingfeng saw through his cultivation at a glance. In Lei Xingfeng's eyes, this person did not look like a cultivator at all. He was more like a fisherman with big hands and big feet. He was a middle-aged man with a dark face full of wrinkles. When he saw Lei Xingfeng, he was a little flustered. The key was that Lei Xingfeng's aura was too strong. Lei Xingfeng could not do anything about it. He had advanced to the 7th ring sage, and his aura was extraordinary. Even if he tried his best to suppress it, the aura that occasionally leaked out was enough to make the other party breathless. That person was a little flustered and said, "Tian Xiaoyan, Wanlun Shi. Greetings, Senior." Although he could not see through Lei Xingfeng's cultivation, he was absolutely sure that it was much higher than his. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Lei Xingfeng, nice to meet you." He did not follow the rules to report his level at all. If he wanted to scare the other party to death, he could just report his level. Tian Xiaoyan politely asked Lei Xingfeng to sit down and said, "Senior, you are in Tian Town. What can I do for you?" Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Don't worry. Don't be so formal. I'm just passing by." Tian Xiaoyan was relieved. Any cultivator in a remote place was most afraid of foreign cultivators. Who knew if they were here to take over their territory? "Senior, please take a rest here. I'll find someone to cook." "Ha, there are no specialties here. Only some local lake products. You go and find some fresh fish and prawns." The butler nodded and hurried out. Lei Xingfeng looked at him with a smile. Tian Xiaoyan said, "That's my butler, Tian Shuiyu. Haha, he's actually my uncle. He's been helping me here." Lei Xingfeng said, "It's okay. Don't worry too much. Just cook a meal. I'm not particular." Tian Xiaoyan said respectfully, "It's rare for you to come." "Haha, I have to do my best." Lei Xingfeng was about to speak when he saw an old man coming out of the inner room. He said, "Xiaoyan, do you have a guest?" Tian Xiaoyan hurried forward to help him and said, "Master, why did you come out? I can serve you well." Lei Xingfeng was stunned. He stood up suddenly and said in horror, You are?" Chapter 210. Yin Wu. Lei Xingfeng couldn't believe that the person in front of him was Yin Wu. He and Yin Wu were of the same generation, and Yin Wu's elders were said to be very powerful. Therefore, Lei Xingfeng couldn't believe that Yin Wu had fallen to such an extent. Tian Xiaoyan said, "Senior, you've got the wrong person. My master is not Yin Wu." Lei Xingfeng found that Yin Wu had completely lost his cultivation. He said, "In my opinion, you should be Yin Wu." The old man was indeed Yin Wu. His luck was worse than Lei Xingfeng's. He also fell from the ancient Luan channel after it was broken. Although Sistano's punch didn't destroy the Luan point, it was enough to cause changes in the ancient Luan channel. Lei Xingfeng was luckier. After he was rescued, he recovered quickly. However, Yin Wu's luck was worse. He fell into a coma after falling. Plus, he was soaked in water for dozens of days before he was rescued. At that time, he had completely missed the treatment time. Even his hidden Luan space couldn't be opened. There was no way to save himself. Tian Xiaoyan was an ordinary fisherman. After saving Yin Wu, he tried his best to serve him. Finally, his life was saved. However, his cultivation was completely destroyed and he couldn't cultivate again. Yin Wu was depressed because of this. He couldn't even go back. The Wanxi continent was so big. He was now an ordinary person. How would he find his way home? He stayed in Tianjia town. Although Tian Xiaoyan was not very good and he was old, he still taught Tian Xiaoyan how to cultivate in order to repay him. After so many years, Tian Xiaoyan was barely promoted to a 10,000 Lun master. If he wanted to be promoted to a Mi-Lun master, it would take at least a few decades. Lei Xingfeng didn't expect to meet Yin Wu here. He said, "Brother Wu, in this case, do you want me to inform your family?" Unexpectedly, Yin Wu shook his head and said, "No, I'd rather die here than go back and embarrass myself. Alas, I'm too ashamed to go back." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. He didn't expect Yin Wu to be so miserable. Yin Wu asked, "How is your grandfather now?" Lei Xingfeng shook his head and said, "I don't know. I'm also looking for him. Back then, when we went through the ancient Luan passage together, I also fell halfway. Fortunately, someone saved me and I survived." Yin Wu had a bitter expression and said, "All of us fell from the passageway. I wonder how the others are doing?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I've been looking for him, but there's still no news." Yin Wu already had a head full of white hair and an aged face. Lei Xingfeng estimated that he did not have many years left to live. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Fifth brother, do you know where the others live?" If he could find the addresses of Galu and Yadin and Tai Popo, he might be able to find Thunderstorm. Yin Wu said, "I don't know. They're all people who like to run around. It's hard for them to stay in one place." Yi was able to find them because they have a special way of communicating. Lei Xingfeng said, "Do you and Yi have a special way of communicating?" Yin Wu said helplessly, "We used to, but when we left last time, we didn't agree, so..." Lei Xingfeng was extremely disappointed and said, see Dano, this bastard, wait until I reach Ninth Ring Sage Body. Then I'll find you." Yin Wu was stunned and said, "Ninth Ring Sage Body? How can it be so easy? You should have one true Ring Sage Body by now, right?" Lei Xingfeng said, "No, I'm a 7th Ring Sage now. 9th Ring. I'll reach it soon." Yin Wu was completely stunned. 7th Ring? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Several thoughts flashed through his mind, but he couldn't believe that Lei Xingfeng could reach the level of a 7th Ring Sage. Lei Xingfeng was only a mill-wheel master in the past. He hadn't even reached the level of a 7th Ring Sage. He said, This is impossible. How did you advance?" Tian Xiaoyan was also shocked. Although he was only a Wan Luan Shi, Yin Wu often chatted with him and told him what a 7th Ring Sage was. A 7th Ring Sage was definitely a rare existence. Among the sages, they were all extraordinary guys. He didn't expect that such a person would come to his house. Lei Xingfeng said, "Oh, I entered the secret door." Tian Xiaoyan didn't understand this, but Yin Wu did. He had a powerful elder who was also in the secret door. Originally, when Yin Wu reached 6th Ring, he was going to let him enter the secret door. Yin Wu said, "You actually entered the secret door?" This is a good opportunity. Who introduced you? Lei Xingfeng said, well, I was apprenticed. Yan Wu was completely shocked. He said, You? You were apprenticed to a perfected cultivator? Lei Xingfeng said, You also know about a perfected cultivator? Many cultivators didn't know about the existence of a perfected cultivator if they didn't enter the secret door. Yan Wu said, A phone, my uncle is in the secret door. How can I not know? Lei Xingfeng said, I see. Speaking of this, both of them fell silent. After all, Lei Xingfeng and Yan Wu were not familiar with each other. Obviously, they didn't have many topics to talk about. Although Tian Xiaoyan was a fisherman, he was good at reading people's expressions. He said, Senior, let's eat. Yan Wu said, You should call him Martial Uncle. Tian Xiaoyan immediately changed his words and said, Martial Uncle. Lei Xingfeng nodded. He took out a Zesh cold pearl and said, It's nothing good. I got it outside and put it in the room. It's very cool. He had 2 Zesh cold pearls, so he gave one to Tian Xiaoyan. Tian Xiaoyan didn't dare to take it. He turned to look at Yan Wu. Yan Wu nodded and said, Take it. Thank Martial Uncle. He knew that it was a treasure from the outside world. Tian Xiaoyan hurriedly took it and thanked him. Thank you, Martial Uncle. Ha! Martial Uncle, please eat outside. Yan Wu also stood up and stretched out his hand. Please. Lei Xingfeng got up and went to the wooden platform with Yan Wu. There were tables and chairs, and plates of dishes were placed on the table. There was a large plate of fried prawns, a large bowl of boiled fish, and a large bowl of braised pork. The braised pork was a rare delicacy because there was no meat here. It could only be purchased from a distant place. There was also a plate of peanuts, a plate of cold fish grass, and a plate of stir-fried fish maw. Tian Shuyu came over with a large wooden bucket. She opened the lid of the wooden bucket, and it was filled with rice. Rice was the staple food here. Lei Xingfeng turned his hand and took out a packet of braised beef. He said, Ask how you'd cut it. It's a local specialty of our hometown. Yan Wu said, Ayu, go and get a jar of old wine. It's rare for friends to come. I want to drink a few bowls. Tian Shuyu agreed and took the braised beef into the house. The 3 of them sat down. Tian Xiaoyan said, Martial Uncle, let's eat something first. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, I'm hungry. Xiaoyan, get the rice. The 3 of them ate together. Lei Xingfeng found that Yan Wu's appetite was obviously much smaller. He only ate 2 bowls of rice and stopped eating. The dishes on the table and the rice in the wooden bucket were basically finished by Lei Xingfeng and Tian Xiaoyan. They were definitely big eaters. At this time, Tian Shuyu came in with a wine jar and a large plate of braised beef. There were also several wine bowls on the wine jar. Tian Xiaoyan personally set the bowls and poured the wine. Tian Shuyu went to fry a fried prawn. He found that Lei Xingfeng liked to eat prawns very much. In the Wanxi continent, other things might be rare, but there were all kinds of prawns. They were not valuable at all. Yan Wu picked up a bowl of wine and drank it in one gulp. He let out a long breath and said, A phone. If you can find Aslan, ask her to come. In fact, he had not completely given up. Aslan was a master of healing. Lei Xingfeng shook his head slightly and said, Brother Wu, Aslan, I'm also looking for her. You know, she took my little sister away. If I find her, if she doesn't have a good reason, I won't forgive her. Of course, if my little sister is fine and she takes good care of her, then I'll let it go. If she wronged my little sister, I'm not a nice person. Yan Wu nodded and said, Well, when she took your sister away, she secretly ran away. She left the place where she lived? Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, I don't know why, but she had a conflict with someone. Her place was destroyed and many people died. But Aslan and my little sister were not there. Yan Wu said, Who is so bold? Lei Xingfeng said, I've already dealt with it. It should be the disaster caused by the ancient hidden Luan. I don't know who it is, but later, an 8th ring true master came. Well, he was called Sun Buru. He was beaten away by my 2 guards. Yan Wu was puzzled and asked, Guards? Sun Buru is an 8th ring true master. Your guards can beat him away? Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, Well, at that time, my guard were 8th ring true masters, just like Sun Buru. But now they are both ninth ring true masters. Yanwu immediately understood. Lei Xingfeng was a direct disciple. He definitely was an existence that did odd jobs in the hidden sect. He probed, "A phone. Do you have an yin ring?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Yin ring, I have one. You want to use the yin ring to heal your injuries?" Yan Wu's spirit was lifted. He grabbed Lei Xingfeng's arm and said anxiously, You really have an yin ring?" He didn't expect Lei Xingfeng to have such a treasure at all. But after thinking about it, it wasn't strange. As a direct disciple of the hidden sect, how could he not have a yin ring? Lei Xingfeng didn't say anything. He flipped his hand and took out a yin ring. He said, "Are you talking about this?" Yan Wu was surprised and happy at the same time. Yes, that's it. That's it. His voice was a little choked up. This was his only hope. Back then, he tried everything to leave the Wanxi continent. But this place was too far away from his hometown. After losing his cultivation, he couldn't use his Lun points. He couldn't pass through the ancient Lun passage. Most importantly, he lost the ability to tell directions. How would he go home? When a drowning man suddenly grabbed onto something that could save his life, he would definitely hold on to it tightly. Chapter 211. Without drinking anymore, Yin Wu grabbed the yin ring and hurried towards his room. He wanted to try and see if he could rely on the yin ring's enormous energy to break through and recover his strength. After all, he was a swordsman with 4 true ring bodies back then. Tian Xiaoyan immediately followed him and said, Master, what's wrong?" Lei Xingfeng sat down and said, "Xiaoyan, don't worry about your master. Let it be alone." Tian Xiaoyan ran a few steps and stopped. He asked in confusion, "What's wrong with master?" Lei Xingfeng said, "If nothing goes wrong, your master is likely to recover his 4th true ring body. Haha, great perfected Luanine master. At that time, you will be able to hold your head high." Tian Xiaoyan said, "Master's junior. You mean master can recover?" Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "There should be a 50% chance. The remaining 50% depends on luck. If he is lucky, he may recover." Since the yin ring was condensed by a perfected monarch, it had no attributes. Any cultivator could use it. However, it was better not to use it for those below the 6th ring body. It was difficult to control and could even kill. However, the yin ring had a special feature. If it was used to heal injuries, the effect would be very good. Of course, it required special skills, and Yin Wu had such skills. Tian Xiaoyan accompanied Lei Xingfeng to drink. Lei Xingfeng said, "This wine tastes good." The reason why he said it was good was that the taste of the wine was very similar to the rice wine in his previous life. It gave him a nostalgic feeling. Tian Xiaoyan smiled and said, "This is an old wine that I brewed. It has been kept for 6 years. If Master's Junior wants some, I have a few jars here. I can give them all to you." Lei Xingfeng did not refuse and said, "Okay." In fact, he also knew how to brew wine. Not only did he know how to brew rice wine, but he also knew how to brew fruit wine. However, he did not have the time to do that. The deep-fried prawns were delicious. As Lei Xingfeng ate, he chatted and said, "Xiaoyan, why didn't you take in more servants?" Tian Xiaoyan smiled bitterly and said, "There are not many people here. We are all from the same village, so I am embarrassed to ask someone to be my servant. I have hands and feet, so I have no problem supporting my master. In addition, some vendors come here and give me some commission. I'm already living a good life. Before I became a disciple, I only had enough to eat by fishing. Now I don't have to worry about food and drink anymore." This was a fisherman, and his mentality was still that of a fisherman. He did not have any awareness of becoming a cultivator. All he thought about was how to fill his stomach and not further his cultivation. Lei Xingfeng felt a little strange. This guy's aptitude was very ordinary, but he managed to cultivate to Wanlun Shi in 10 years. Perhaps this mentality was the reason. Lei Xingfeng said, "Xiaoyan, you are a cultivator. What you pursue is different from ordinary people. You have to go further." Tian Xiaoyan smiled and said, "I'm very hard-working when it comes to cultivation. Really, as long as I have time, I'll work hard to cultivate. Even my master said that my progress is very fast. faster than those who have good aptitudes. Lei Xingfeng stared at him and said, "You have the water attribute, right?" Tian Xiaoyan nodded and said, "Yes, I am a cultivator with the water attribute." Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "No wonder. In the Wanxi continent, cultivators with the water attribute have a lot of advantages. It is understandable that you are faster." This was a world of water. If a cultivator with the water attribute was a cultivator with the water attribute, it would be better than cultivators with other attributes. Lei Xingfeng said again, "You must have been good at swimming since you were a child." Tian Xiaoyan smiled and said, Yes. My swimming ability is really one of the best in this area." This was the so-called like a fish in water. If everything was suitable, the speed of cultivation would not be bad. Even if Tian Xiaoyan's aptitude was relatively poor, he had cultivated to Wan Luanshe in more than 10 years. According to Lei Xingfeng's estimation, if there were enough Luan rings, Lunin rings, and Yin rings, this guy might be able to forcibly advance to the 6th ring sage. It depended on whether Yin Wu had so many resources and whether he was willing to train him. After taking a sip of wine and peeling a fried shrimp, Lei Xingfeng felt funny. Why should he worry about this? As long as Yin Wu could recover, Tian Xiaoyan would make progress. Lei Xingfeng said, "Are you alone?" Tian Xiaoyan said, "Yes. When I was young, I didn't have money, so I didn't get a wife. Later, I started to cultivate. There was no time. Let's talk about it later." Lei Xingfeng smiled slightly. As long as one started to cultivate, he would not choose to get married. With the vision and strength of a cultivator, it was difficult to find an ordinary person. Of course, when one's cultivation reached a certain level and began to stagnate, he would consider the next generation. It was normal to find 3 or 5 women. After Yin Wu entered the room, there was no news. It was not until the next day that he came out of the room. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Brother Wu, how is it?" Yin Wu said, "There is hope. I have recovered the strength of a mill-will master. It won't be long before I can recover to the 1st ring sage. The most important thing is that I can open the hidden Luan space. Alas, if I could open the hidden Luan space, I would not be so embarrassed." Yin Wu's bent back had straightened, and his dull eyes were shining. Lei Xingfeng knew that Yin Wu was no longer an ordinary person. Tian Xiaoyan said excitedly, "Master, have you recovered?" Yin Wu said, "I will be able to recover in a while." Xiaoyan, when I recover my strength, you can go with me." Tian Xiaoyan nodded and said, "Okay, Master, I will go with you." Lei Xingfeng said, "Since there are no more problems, 5th brother, I have something to do. I'll leave first. By the way, give me a boat." He took out a few golden rings and handed them to Tian Xiaoyan. Yin Wu bowed and said, "A phone. I can't thank you enough. If you need me in the future, just send me a message." Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "No problem. If I need your help, I will definitely find you." Tian Xiaoyan declined. "No need for the golden rings. I have a boat here. I will give it to you." Xian Feng spoke. "I told you to take it, so take it." Yin Wu said, "Xiaoyan, take the golden rings and give the boat to me." It was the best boat. Tian Xiaoyan agreed. After that, Lei Xingfeng and Yin Wu exchanged their respective addresses and left. Xian Feng rowed the small boat all the way down, quickly reaching the depths of the lake. The borders of the Wanxi continent were all gigantic lakes, but they weren't all filled with water. Instead, there were countless tidal flats, countless small islands, and countless reed swamps. Moving around inside, it was easy to get lost. For 3 consecutive days, Lei Xingfeng did not see anyone. Between heaven and earth, there was only the sound of the rippling lake and the chirping of various waterfowl. After flying into the air and circling around, Lei Xingfeng was sure that this was an extremely desolate lake. There was no trace of human beings. It was the best place to open the sky crystal. He should not disturb anyone. Even so, he decided to open the stone egg in the lake. The fluctuation of the stone egg was too shocking. He had to be careful. Lei Xingfeng felt like a thief. He was very careful, afraid that someone would find out. With a splash, Lei Xingfeng jumped into the water and dived down. The lake here was not polluted at all. The water was very clear. The bottom of the lake was full of aquatic plants. Countless fish were swimming back and forth. Looking up from the bottom of the lake, it was blue. The view at the bottom of the lake was very good. It was more than 10 meters deep. Lei Xingfeng took out a stone egg from his hidden lune space. Before he could handle it, the stone egg began to melt. Layer by layer, he rubbed it with his hand. The stone egg quickly became smaller. Lei Xingfeng was overjoyed. He did not expect that the stone egg could not come into contact with water. In just a moment, a fluctuation spread out and was quickly absorbed by the lake. The fluctuation only spread out a few meters before disappearing. Lei Xingfeng was completely relieved. He saw a crystal as thick as a finger. It was hexagonal with 2 sharp ends. There was a silver line in the middle. He knew that it was the silver liquid that was sealed in the crystal. This silver liquid was very small, but it could increase a 9th ring sage's chances of becoming a true monarch by 40%. Quickly putting the sky crystal into his hidden lune space, Lei Xingfeng took out another stone egg. This stone egg was glowing with a golden light. He wanted to check if it also had a crystal. This stone egg melted even faster. With a slight shake in the water, the stone egg seemed to be made of mud. It quickly melted. Another fluctuation spread out. This time, it spread out a bit further, but not more than 10 meters. Another crystal appeared. It was also a standard hexagonal cylinder. Inside the crystal, there was a golden line. Golden liquid. Lei Xingfeng was so happy that he grinned. He snatched a mouthful of water and hurriedly put away the Saint crystal. He quickly floated out of the water. He was so excited that he did not know what to do. He could not help but want to dance. What could be more precious than increasing the chances of becoming a true monarch by 60%? After calming down with great difficulty, Lei Xingfeng dived into the water again. In one breath, he extracted the sky crystal and Saint crystal. He knew that there was no doubt that he would become a true monarch. As long as he had a 9th ring true body, he would be able to smoothly become a true monarch. Lei Xingfeng suddenly understood that his greatest advantage was not his amazing potential or his hard work in cultivation. It was his vision. He could see resources that others could not get. He knew that once he became a true monarch, talent and cultivation were not important. What was important was a large amount of resources. With his vision, he could get resources that others could not get. This was his greatest advantage. Lei Xingfeng could not take out either sky crystal or Saint crystal. He knew that as long as he took out one, he would become the target of everyone. Unless he became a true monarch, no one would dare to target him. Instead, because he had sky crystal and Saint crystal, he would gain a large amount of connections and resources. These things were much more valuable than yin rings. In a sense, sky crystal and Saint crystal were priceless. He had to think of a way to become a true monarch. Chapter 2:12. Jean Dias said, "Old Eagle, I don't know where Phone went this time. Why is he grinning all the time after he came back?" Mad Eagle said, "Don't tell me you like a Feng's poker face every day." Jean Dias said, "That's not what I meant. I just think that if Phone has something good to do." "No. Could it be that he found a woman outside? Is that why he's so excited?" Tiger Love said, "Hey, Big Tooth, what are you talking about? What do you mean by grinning?" Jean Dias said, "Don't you think that a Phone is a little abnormal?" Mad Eagle scolded jokingly, "You're the abnormal one. Big Tooth, you're already so old. You're too sensitive." Jean Dia muttered, "I really feel that something is wrong. Forget it. I won't talk to you anymore." It had to be said that Jean Dia had been outside for too long. He immediately felt that Lei Xingfeng's joy was different. However, he could not figure out what could make Lei Xingfeng so happy, so he said it. Who knew that Mad Eagle and Tiger Love would ignore it, which was a huge blow to him. Lei Xingfeng finished cultivating and came out. He said, "Is there any news?" Mad Eagle said, "What news?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I don't know what news. I'm just asking. Did anything happen recently?" Mad Eagle said, "No. There's one thing. Your eldest senior brother seems to have found the heaven crystal. A Phone, you can go and see him. At the very least, you should know what the heaven crystal looks like." Lei Xingfeng snickered. Not only did he have the heaven crystal, he did not even lack the Saint crystal. He had already seen it, but he felt that he could not reveal any flaws. He said, "You want to see it, right?" Mad Eagle said with a smile, "Of course. If I don't see it, I won't feel at ease." Hee, even Big Tooth wants to see it. Jean Dia said, "You were the one who wanted to see it. I didn't say anything." Mad Eagle cut him off and said, "All right, then you don't have to look, hee." Jean Dia said, "Bah, it's up to a phone to decide." The two of them bickered. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Let's go and take a look." I'm curious too." He pretended to be stupid. Since no one knew that he had obtained the celestial crystal and Saint Crystal, it was necessary for him to pretend. He took the three of them to Feng Qinzong's residence and invited them into the living room. Not only was Feng Qinzong there, but Xi and Jiaoluan and Yin Yao were there as well. Lei Xingfeng stepped forward. "Big senior brother, third senior brother, sixth senior sister, you're all here." Yin Yao looked at Lei Xingfeng and said, "That's amazing. Little junior brother actually reached 7th ring. Are you trying to make me feel inferior?" She had heard from Xi and Jiaoluan that Lei Xingfeng had reached 7th ring. She was so jealous. Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Senior sister, that's just luck." Luck? Yin Yao said, "I'm also considering going to Hanyu Castle. Even that little girl Miao Ling has reached 6 rings." Sigh. As the 6th senior sister, I'm lagging behind. Xi and Jiaoluan said, "A phone. Are you here to see the celestial crystal?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Yeah, I'm just curious." "Big senior brother, congratulations. With the celestial crystal, you're almost guaranteed to reach Monarch." Feng Qinzong smiled. "It shouldn't be a problem. I have to thank a phone this time. I've benefited a lot." He took out the celestial crystal and placed it on the table. Lei Xingfeng went up to take a look, but he didn't take it with his hands. He just stood on the side and watched. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love also stood on the side and watched. No one was stupid enough to take the celestial crystal. That would be annoying. Xi and Jiaoluan said, "I'm so envious of Big Senior Brother. If you had hesitated, you wouldn't have gotten the celestial crystal." Lei Xingfeng said, "Yeah, no one thought of using this method to get the celestial crystal. Big Senior Brother must have been prepared." Feng Qinzong said, "I wasn't prepared. It was just a flash of inspiration. I was a bit impatient." Then he put away the celestial crystal and said, "I still need to find some materials. I'm still missing a few. They're all very difficult to get. I've already asked Master to find them. Once I get the news, I'll go find them. If everything goes well, I plan to start breaking through." Xi and Jiaoluan and Yin Yao both showed envious expressions. Once he reached Monarch, he would be able to stand on his own. At that time, he would be an existence that his junior brothers and sisters could only look up to. Yin Yao said, "Breaking through to Monarch is too difficult. If you have a celestial crystal, it'll be much easier. Big Senior Brother won't have to worry about breaking through." Xi and Jiaoluan said, Yeah, you'll definitely break through." Even someone as experienced as Feng Qinzong was beaming with joy at the two's words. With his cultivation, he'd forcefully suppressed his breakthrough because he was afraid that the success rate would be too low. If he didn't succeed, he might die. Now, he could finally breathe a sigh of relief. One should know that many talented cultivators died at this juncture. Feng Qinzong said, "Then I'll count on your auspicious words. Until now, there hasn't been a monarch in Master's sect. I hope I'll be the first. That way, you'll have a target to chase after." He wasn't boasting. In Gucci's sect, among the 9 disciples, he was indeed one of the most talented. If he could break through, it would be a great help to his junior brothers and sisters. Not to mention, after he broke through, he would be able to help his junior brothers and sisters. Lei Xingfeng smiled. "I hope that my senior brothers and sisters can all break through to Monarch." Yin Yao smiled. "That's going to be difficult. Unless you take out a pile of sky crystals, one for each person. That's more like it." Everyone understood that this was impossible. The only one who was worried was Lei Xingfeng. He had a pile of sky crystals on him. Of course, he didn't dare to take them out. At least, before he broke through to Monarch, he wouldn't dare to take them out. Xi and Jiaoluan said, "Okay, one for each person. Then, junior sister, you'll take them out?" Yin Yao said, "Bah, Aren't these good things always given out by senior brothers? Ex-Angeloan said with a bitter face. Sigh, I'm already so excited that I'm about to jump up and down. If only there were sky crystals. It's a pity that the great stone fields will be impossible to enter without at least a decade. Yinyao said, there should be other places that produce them, right? Feng Chenzong shook his head. Even if there is, we don't know. I only got the coordinates of the great stone fields by chance. Lei Xingfeng didn't dare to say more and just sat there obediently. Feng Chenzong turned to look at Lei Xingfeng and said, Feng, I got the sky crystals this time. Hee, there will be compensation. Do you want compensation now or after I break through to Monarch? You should know what I mean. Third junior brother, choose to wait after I break through. At this time, the compensation was just some rings. But after Feng Chenzong breaks through to Monarch, the compensation would be completely different. The strength of a Monarch was completely different from that of a ninth ring sage. The things that could be obtained would also be different. Lei Xingfeng knew very well that after Feng Chenzong breaks through to Monarch, he would be able to obtain even more benefits. Lei Xingfeng smiled. Of course we'll wait until eldest senior brother breaks through to Monarch. Feng Chenzong was very satisfied. Right now, he needed to focus on breaking through. Most of the materials he had were useful. If he gave them away now, it would delay his breakthrough. Lei Xingfeng was considerate enough to wait for him to break through. This way, he wouldn't have to worry. He said, don't worry, Feng. I won't treat you unfairly. Lei Xingfeng said, eldest senior brother is too polite. In fact, he was very grateful to his eldest senior brother. If he hadn't taken him to the great stone fields, he wouldn't have had the chance to get so many sky crystals and saint crystals. This kind of thing was really the more the better. He still didn't have the ability to find the outer world by himself. He needed these senior brothers and sisters to take him there. Therefore, it was very important for him to have a good relationship with them. Feng Chenzong said, Feng, I might be going to the outer world soon. If you're free, how about you come with me? Xian Zhaoluan smiled. Eldest senior brother likes a Feng's good luck, haha. Feng Chenzong nodded. Yeah, I've been busy for 17 years and didn't get any sky crystals. But a Feng went with me and I got one. This luck is really too good. I'm still missing a few materials. If I take a Feng with me, I might be able to find them without a hitch. Lei Xingfeng smiled. Aya, aren't I the lucky baby now? Yinyao couldn't help but pat Lei Xingfeng's head. Aren't you the lucky baby? Lei Xingfeng shrunk his neck. Don't touch my head. My luck will run away. Everyone laughed. Yinyao said, if that's the case, Feng, the next time you go to the outer world, take me with you. Feng Chenzong said, no problem. But you'll have to pay for the rings yourself. Yinyao said without hesitation, sure. I'm alone anyway. Even if I have to pay for the rings, it won't be much. Lei Xingfeng didn't know about this. You need rings to use the hidden door? Yinyao asked curiously. You've never used one before? Lei Xingfeng was embarrassed. No, it's all my senior brothers who take me. I even bring them with me. Yinyao said, senior brothers, you're so mean. You're so nice to your junior brother, but when it's my turn, you want me to pay rings. Aya, this is bullying. Xian Zhaoluan said, yeah, if I bring you and earn more, I don't mind bringing you for free. Last time I brought a Feng, the materials we earned were enough to open the hidden door a dozen times. I can even bring 7 or 8 people with me. As for senior brother, aren't you jealous? Yinyao was stunned. After a while, she said, really? That's amazing. Oh, no matter what, I want to get a share of the glory. Feng Chenzong was also surprised. He'd always heard Xian Zhaoluan say that Lei Xingfeng was lucky. He didn't expect it to be true. Opening the hidden door cost a lot of rings. Even he didn't dare to go to the outer world often. Under normal circumstances, if he didn't get anything, it would be a loss. Lei Xingfeng asked, how many rings do you need to open the hidden door? Chapter 213. Feng Chenzong explained, it depends on the cost. Some places are easy to open and don't require many rings, just 100 or so. If it's hard to open, it might cost 1,000 rings. If you don't have rings, you can use materials to exchange for a chance to open it. Usually, 10 people or less are one level. More than 10 people and one more person will cost a lot more rings. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but click his tongue. 100 or so rings was a lot. Besides the ones he got from the ancient Hidden Lun, he didn't have 100 rings. In other words, he didn't even have a chance to open a secret door. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love couldn't help but exclaim. They were basically brought out when they went to the outer world. Even if they had rings, Gucci wouldn't open a secret door for them. This privilege was only given to the direct disciples. Lei Xingfeng now knew that going to the outer world had a price. Since Feng Shenzong was bringing him there, that meant he didn't need to pay rings. He could just follow. Of course, if Lei Xingfeng didn't bring any benefits to Feng Shenzong, then it was just a free opportunity. If Lei Xingfeng brought great benefits to Feng Shenzong, then whenever Feng Shenzong went to the outer world, the first person he would think of would be Lei Xingfeng. Jean Dia quietly pulled Lei Xingfeng's sleeve. Lei Xingfeng obviously understood what he meant. He said, "Big senior brother, if you go this time, I want the three of them to go together. I'm a coward, so I'll feel safer with a guard." Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all showed grateful expressions. Not counting the last time they went to the Great Stone Fields, the last time they went to Hanyu Castle, the three of them gained a lot. They felt very lucky to be able to follow Lei Xingfeng. Feng Shenzong didn't mind. He said, "Sure, let's go together." Lei Xingfeng stood up and said, "Senior brother, we'll go back first. Once you decide to go outside, let me know. I'll stay at home and cultivate for the next few days." Feng Shenzong, Xi Jiaoluan, and Yin Yao got up to send them off. Lei Xingfeng cultivated for a few days. He already felt that although cultivating in the secret space was faster than cultivating outside, it was still a far cry from cultivating in a thunderstorm. This made him a little disheartened. Thunderstorm weather was not easy to travel in. Sometimes there would be thunderstorm, but there would be no thunder at all. He began to wonder if he should go to the outside world to search. It would be best if he could find a world with a thunderstorm. After the rapid improvement in his cultivation during thunderstorms, Lei Xingfeng really couldn't bring himself to cultivate normally. However, he understood that this kind of grinding cultivation every day was an essential process. He could only persevere every day without slacking off. Lei Xingfeng started cultivating at the age of 16 and didn't encounter a bottleneck. He smoothly cultivated to 7th ring sage body. He could be considered an extremely lucky person. It hadn't even been a year since Xian Feng had advanced to the 7th ring, but his cultivation had already stabilized and had increased. However, the rate of increase made him extremely dissatisfied. He hoped to find a thunderstorm and make a huge leap forward, pushing his cultivation to the 8th ring. The 8th ring was actually a threshold. After reaching the 8th ring, one would be able to fight against a 9th ring expert, especially for a true master with a lightning attribute like Xian Feng, who could challenge those of a higher rank. Once he reached the 8th ring, he would definitely be able to fight against a 9th ring expert. In other words, no matter where he went, unless he was surrounded or met a true monarch, he would be safe. Lei Xingfeng made his own Lei Yin. Ever since he devoured the Lei Yin that Elder Thunderstorm gave him, he had been slowly absorbing the lightning plasma within it. This strange ball of silver lightning still hadn't been completely absorbed. There was still a trace left. However, no matter how hard Lei Xingfeng tried, this trace of lightning plasma didn't move at all. This made Lei Xingfeng very confused. In terms of cultivation, Lei Xingfeng had the Star Python records to refer to. Master Gucci also gave him a lot of cultivation experience. However, his cultivation method was too special, especially when it came to thunderstorm weather. This was completely Elder Thunderstorm's inheritance. Moreover, Elder Thunderstorm himself didn't really master it. He just forcefully absorbed lightning and grew quickly. There were many drawbacks, and he needed to adjust and adapt. In fact, Lei Xingfeng's absorption of lightning was already different from thunderstorms. Although he hadn't tested it yet, he knew that if he shot his Lei Yin into the lightning clouds of thunderstorm rain, the benefits would probably be even greater. This Lei Yin already had a corporeal body and an incorporeal body. The two forms could be transformed into each other, and its absorption ability should be even stronger. Lei Xingfeng considered whether or not he should make another trip to the Wan Sea continent. If it was the rainy season there, he could still encounter thunderstorm weather. It would be much better than wandering around aimlessly. Just as his thoughts were running wild, Jean Dia came in and said, "A phone. Your senior brother sent someone over. They're probably going to the outer world." Lei Xingfeng stood up and said, "So fast. All right, let's go together." With Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love, the four of them left the residence and quickly arrived at Master Gucci's residence. At Master's residence, Feng Qinzong, Exine Jiaoluan, and Yin Yao were all there. The three of them didn't bring any guards. Only Lei Xingfeng, the freeloader, brought the three of them. In the past, Lei Xingfeng didn't know much about it, but now he knew that Feng Qinzong had to pay an extra yin ring for each additional person. Of course, Feng Qinzong was willing to pay this fee. He still had a few materials left. Two of them were exchanged with Master, and the remaining two were the special products of this trip to the outer world. Gucci saw Lei Xingfeng come in with 3 guards. He smiled and said, "You're still planning to bring the 3 of them with you this time?" Lei Xingfeng was very thick-skinned. "Of course. I'm a coward. There are all kinds of experts out there. My life is more important." Everyone laughed when they heard this. They all knew that this guy was doing this for the sake of his guards. However, no one stopped him. There was no need to do this. Since Feng Qinzong didn't object, they wouldn't do something that would offend him. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Senior brother, where are we going this time?" Feng Qinzong said, "This place is a bit dangerous. There are a lot of powerful beasts." "Yes, these beasts are very different from the ones we have here. They're much stronger. Some of them can even fight against ninth ring sages." Lei Xingfeng was surprised. "Ah, they're that strong?" Feng Qinzong said, "That's right. This time, we're going to a place called Canefield. Yes, there's something special about that place. All the trees, they're black. The leaves, branches, flowers, and fruits are all black. You'll know when you get there." Gucci smiled. "This time, your senior brother is really bleeding. He spent a lot of money to go there. Canefield is very far away. Even I wouldn't go there unless there's something special." Lei Xingfeng asked, "Are there any natives there?" Feng Qinzong said, "There are no natives. Even if there are outsiders, there are very few. One reason is that it costs a lot to go there. Another reason is that very few people know about it." Exine Jiaoluan said, "So you're saying that we won't meet any outsiders?" Feng Qinzong nodded. "That's right. Not many people will go there. There are 2 materials that I need to break through." "Yes, don't look at me. You don't need these 2 materials. Our attributes are different." Exine Jiaoluan was immediately discouraged. "All right, then, are there any special materials there? We can't go there for nothing." Feng Qinzong said, "That place is a huge source of materials. But I can't get the distribution of the mineral resources because there are too few people there." As he spoke, he looked at Lei Xingfeng and said, "The reason I brought a phone there is because I want to get some benefits and find some other materials. You know, I'm about to become a pauper. For this breakthrough, I've spent all my savings." Gucci took out the Star Python record and smiled. "A phone. This is a record of all kinds of mineral resources. Do you want it?" Lei Xingfeng was overjoyed. "Yes, I want it." Gucci said, "Give me something in exchange. Materials or yin rings will do." Lei Xingfeng's face turned bitter. "Master, I just entered the sect not long ago. I haven't done any missions. Poor me. I'm just a pauper." Gucci didn't say anything. With a flip of his wrist, the Star Python record disappeared. Lei Xingfeng panicked. He grabbed Gucci's arm and said, "Master, what do you want in exchange? Just say it. As long as I have it, I'll trade." He really needed it. He didn't want to find a mine in the wild and not recognize it. That would be a joke. Feng Qinzong, Exin Jiaoluan, and Yin Yao couldn't stop laughing. Gucci said, "It's simple. You have it. 50,000 leaf silver, or 100 yin rings. Your choice." Exine Feng screamed, "Why, Master, you're robbing. 1,000 leaf silver is hard to dig out. If you're careless, it'll shatter. Can't you give me less? 20 pieces?" Gucci said, 50. I won't trade for anything less. Lei Xingfeng said gloomily. Master, you can't play like this. Bargaining always comes and goes. Gucci was still smiling. No bargaining. If you want to trade, then trade. If you don't want to trade, then forget it. Lei Xingfeng muttered. Master, you're bullying me. Fine, fine, I'll trade. He took out a wooden box and handed it over. Gucci opened the box and saw the 1,000-leaf silver pieces neatly stacked in the wooden box. With a glance, he knew that there were indeed 50 pieces, and none of them were broken. He put away the wooden box with satisfaction and said, I'll trade. 1,000-leaf silver was hard to dig out, especially complete ones. Gucci was just messing with Lei Xingfeng. He didn't think that he would be able to take out such complete 1,000-leaf silver. He felt like he made a huge profit. Lei Xingfeng held the star python record and muttered unwillingly, Master is bullying me. Master is bullying me. Oh, this record isn't bad. Whatever, it's worth it. He was secretly happy. Chapter 214. No matter if it was Lei Xingfeng or Gucci, they both profited from this trade, especially Lei Xingfeng. Even if the star python record didn't record anything, just the skin alone was worth a lot. Not to mention, it also recorded all kinds of materials and where they were collected. If one wasn't a monarch, they wouldn't be able to get their hands on it. Xi and Jalowin said, Afong, you're so generous. I'm already in the 9th ring, and you're still willing to trade for it. Lei Xingfeng didn't dare to show it to him. If he did, his master wouldn't be able to make any money. So he laughed and put the star python record into his hidden lens space. Up until now, he had collected quite a few records. They were all his treasures. Feng Chenzong stood up. Master, we can go now. Gucci sighed. I have a busy life. All I have to do is open the secret door for your disciples and pick you up. Aya, it's not easy being a master. Come on. No one said anything, but they all smiled. They were already immune to Gucci's complaints. Only Lei Xingfeng found it novel. He whispered, Third senior brother, does master always complain like this? Xin Xiaolin chuckled. Isn't that so? That's what he likes. Gucci turned around. What did you say? Lei Xingfeng and Xin Xiaolin were so scared that they didn't dare to say anything. Gucci's expression became much better. He smiled and led the group in. After opening the secret door, the 7 quickly entered. This was Lei Xingfeng's 3rd time in the outer world, and each time was different. The first time was in Hanya Castle. It was white. The second time was in the Great Stone Field, where there were colorful stone eggs. This was the 3rd time, and all he saw was black. The ground was black, the trees were black, and the sky was gray. It was a very strange outer world. Feng Chenzong smiled. The trees here are very famous. Black lacquer wood, used to make boxes to store things. It won't rot or rot. Fresh fruits can be stored in it for half a year. It's very magical. If you have time, you can harvest some. It's very hard to enter this place. Black lacquer would could be considered a good treasure in the market. Lei Xingfeng was immediately tempted. This kind of wood could be considered treasure. Just keeping things fresh was already amazing. Feng said, There is no night here. It's always gray, so you can't look at the sky. Find your own way. Xi and Feng asked, Big senior brother, what materials do you need to gather? Is it ores? Feng Chenzong nodded. Yes. This place has golden crow stone and a type of liquid. I have confidence in getting smoke water liquid, but not golden crow stone. When Lei Xingfeng heard about mining, his heart calmed down. He was very good at this. Senior brother, it's okay. With me here, you will definitely be able to harvest enough golden crow stone. Feng Chenzong smiled. All right, then I'll count on your auspicious words. Lei Xingfeng said, Senior brother, how about we go find golden crow stone first? Feng Chenzong said, I only know the general location of the place. As for the exact location, we still need to find it. He continued, MHM, other than golden crow stone, there are other materials produced here. Everyone pay attention. If you find anything, let me know. It's not easy to come here, and we don't know when we'll be able to come again. It's worth it to harvest as much as possible. Xi and Jalowin said, Yeah, golden crow stone is useless to me, but it's not bad to exchange for other materials. If we can find other materials, We'll make a profit this time. Yin Yao stared into the distance. Senior brother, you said there are powerful beasts here. Why don't I see any? Feng Qinzong said, you'll see them soon. Let's go. The group flew into the air and headed north. They didn't fly far before they saw a cloud of smoke rising from the black forest in the distance. It gathered and scattered in the air. Lei Xingfeng had experience from his previous life. He had seen this scene on TV before. It was when countless birds gathered together. Because of the distance, it looked like rising smoke, but the smoke was alive. Feng Qinzong turned around. That's a famous killer smoke. Just stay away from it. Lei Xingfeng immediately knew that the flying things weren't simple. If they were birds, then they would attack humans. The others hadn't seen this thing before. Xi and Jiaoluan said, what killer smoke? Is it poisonous? Feng Qinzong said, that thing isn't actually smoke. It just looks like smoke from a distance. Look closely, you can see those little black dots. They're a type of flying, well, bird's a type of bird. Tens of thousands of them gathered together. That's the smoke you see. Xi and Jiaoluan didn't think much of it. No matter how many of these birds there are, they won't be a threat to us. He didn't believe that tens of thousands of little birds could threaten a group of ninth ring sages. Was this a joke? Feng Qinzong said, I don't know what kind of bird it is, but from what I know, there's a type of bird here that can create killer smoke. That bird can suck your blood from a distance. Everyone was shocked. Lei Xingfeng couldn't believe it. Senior brother, it can't be that bad, right? Suck blood from a distance? What kind of strange bird is this? Jean Diaz said, let's go around it. I don't want to fight with these birds. It's too dangerous if we don't even know what they are. Yin Yao softened when she heard the words suck blood from a distance. She said, go around, go around. I feel uncomfortable when I see so many of them. Feng Qinzong said, I'm taking everyone around. Follow me. It was about 10 kilometers away. Feng Qinzong believed that he could go around it. Indeed, the 7 of them went around the killer smoke, but that didn't mean they were safe. Just as they went around the back of the killer smoke and were about to leave, countless black dots rose from the black forest below, heading straight for them. Feng Qinzong cursed, Mother asterisk her. There's more down there. Fly. He led everyone to fly away. Even if they wanted to fight, they didn't dare to stay in the same place. They had to run further away. It was safer there. Feng Qinzong had this common sense. Everyone rushed forward. Lei Xingfeng was the fastest, even faster than Feng Qinzong. If it weren't for Xi and Jiaoluan, Yin Yao would have been the last. She said in surprise, how can a Feng fly so fast? Xi and Jiaoluan said, he's of the thunder attribute. How can he not be fast? Yin Yao said, yeah, I almost forgot. Only those of the light attribute can catch up to the speed of those of the thunder attribute. They're really fast. Behind them, a large group of black monsters chased crazily. It was a strange scene in the sky. The 7 of them left a long trail of smoke behind them as they flew through the air. Lei Xingfeng turned his head and saw the small black monsters chasing after them. At first glance, that thing looked like a bat from his previous life, but upon closer inspection, he realized that it was very different from a bat. Although it also had wings, the wings were more like feathers. A small monster with 2 pairs of wings on its body. Strictly speaking, it had 4 feathers. The most frightening thing was its mouth. 2 sharp snow-white teeth formed an angle at the tip of the 2 teeth. There was a tiny red dot at the tip of the 2 teeth. On its black body, there were specks of silver light. It reminded Lei Xingfeng of the mosquito from his previous life. It was a poisonous mosquito with white spots on its body. With Lei Xingfeng's experience, he knew that the small monster had a hard shell, not soft fur. The small monster wasn't big, only the size of a ripe pineapple. Although it looked fierce, it wasn't much of a threat. But when tens of thousands of them gathered together, even a high-level sage would feel a chill. Lei Xingfeng flew easily. In fact, he already had the ability to shake off the group and fly away by himself. Of course, he wouldn't do that. He looked back from time to time and said, Big senior brother, this thing is definitely not a bird. It should be some kind of insect. Not exactly an insect. It should be a combination of an insect and a bird. Feng Qinzong wasn't in a good mood. Who cares if it's an insect or a bird? In a moment, we'll turn around and kill it. Then we'll run, then turn around and kill it again. Everyone understand? Everyone agreed. Xi and Joloin reminded, everyone, activate your defenses. Don't be careless. A few hundred of these things shouldn't be much of a threat. Once there are tens of thousands of them, don't get trapped. At Feng Qinzong's command, everyone immediately turned around and launched their own attacks. Continuous explosions sounded. Everyone attacked once. Without waiting to see the results, Feng Qinzong immediately gave the order to escape. The effect of their combined attack was quite shocking. They killed at least 1,000 small monsters with a single attack. However, the number of small monsters was simply too large. A single attack was not enough to kill them all. In the Black Forest, there were many strange creatures. Lei Xingfeng had never seen any of them before. They couldn't even be compared to the animals in his previous life. Lei Xingfeng named the small monsters chasing after them red dots. They were about an inch long and had snow-white teeth. Lei Xingfeng instinctively felt the power of the red dots. As for what kind of power they had, he wasn't sure. This group of red dots, after flying with the 7 of them for a period of time, their attention was attracted by the various monsters below, occasionally attacking in groups. With Xi and Feng's eyes, he could clearly see a group of densely packed red dots staring at a 5 to 6 meter tall, gigantic black monster. They only attacked once, and when they were less than a meter away from the monster's body, they quickly flew past it. Then, he saw a large amount of blood suddenly appear in front of the red dot's teeth. It was sucked clean in an instant. The monster only ran a few dozen meters before it suddenly crashed into a black tree and died, just like that. Lei Xingfeng felt a chill run down his spine. At this time, he finally understood what it meant to suck blood through the air. There was no contact at all. In a way that Lei Xingfeng couldn't understand, the monster's blood was drawn out. Chapter 215. No wonder Feng Qinzong wanted to run. If the red dots got close, who knew if he could hold them off? After all, Feng Qinzong was someone who spent a lot of time in the outside world. He had his own way of dealing with this kind of crisis. He kept giving orders for everyone to suddenly attack from behind and then quickly run forward. After going back and forth many times, the red dots behind them began to thin out, their numbers becoming fewer and fewer. Lei Xingfeng agreed with Feng Qinzong's strategy. The 7 of them didn't suffer any injuries and had already killed a lot of red dots. When the 7 of them flew over a black patch of land, Feng Qinzong yelled, "All right, there's no need to run this time. Let's kill them all." There were about 10,000 red dots behind them. With their strength, the 7 of them weren't afraid at all. They turned around and started attacking. Lei Xingfeng didn't use the chaos wheel to attack. Instead, he shot out bolts of lightning. The electric arcs jumped in the air, instantly killing hundreds of red dots. The others couldn't compare to his efficiency. After a few minutes, there were no more red dots left in the air. They were all killed by the 7 of them. Yin Yao said, "This little monster is too disgusting. Even if I had a lot of strength, I would still be scared to death." Feng Qinzong said, "This little monster's teeth are a kind of material. If you want, you can collect some yourself. Yes, it can be used to make weapons." The group immediately landed on the ground and started collecting the red dot's teeth. Lei Xingfeng also collected about 100 pairs of teeth. There were a lot of red dots on the ground, but he wasn't interested in collecting more. 100 pairs of teeth was enough. Seeing that the others were still searching, Lei Xingfeng quickly flew to the edge of the Black Forest and used the chaos wheel to cut down a few trees. He cut off the branches and leaves, leaving only the trunks. He then quickly cut them up. Each trunk was about 3 meters long. He collected about 20 trunks. This was pitch ebony, a wood that couldn't be found anywhere else. Feng Qinzong waited for everyone to regroup before saying, "We're close to our destination. Everyone, keep your eyes open." Lei Xingfeng said, "Senior brother, you don't know the exact location?" Feng Qinzong nodded. "Yes, I don't know. I only know the general location. We need to search for it ourselves." Lei Xingfeng said, "Do you have a sample of pitch ebony?" Feng Qinzong said, "I do. I'll show it to everyone." Cultivators at the true monarch level and above needed all kinds of strange ores and materials. Therefore, no one dared to say that they knew all the ores and materials. Most of them were looking for materials that they needed and could use. Every cultivator, aside from working hard to increase their cultivation base, would also think of ways to obtain information about materials. So when Lei Xingfeng made this request, Feng Qinzong immediately took out the golden crow stone. It was a black stone with golden threads. It was the size of a walnut and was not eye-catching at all. Lei Xingfeng noticed the thin golden threads and asked, "Is this gold?" Feng Qinzong said, "No, this isn't gold." Lei Xingfeng nodded. He had already sensed that this raw or had threads of golden light. He firmly believed that as long as he could find the source of the golden crow stone, he would be able to find the mine. Everyone passed it around and expressed that they understood. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Eldest senior brother, how much golden crow stone do we need?" Feng Qinzong said, "Not a lot. About 500 pounds. It's just that this stuff is hard to dig up, especially this kind of golden crow stone with golden threads. It's even harder to find. I don't need regular pitch ebony. I only want high quality. Of course, the highest quality is even better." Every ninth ring sage who was qualified to become a true monarch had to make a lot of preparations and resources. If they didn't have anyone to help them, they had almost no hope of reaching their goal. Becoming a true monarch was a huge threshold. Stepping into it would change the world, and one's strength would increase by tens of times. However, this threshold could be said to have stopped the majority of sages. Even if one had a perfected cultivator as a master and a secret door that allowed them to go to the outside world, there were very few people who could cross this threshold. Based on probability, if one didn't have special methods and materials, such as heaven-defying treasures like the sky crystal, it would be very difficult to advance. Take Feng Qinzong, for example. He was qualified to break through a long time ago, but he suppressed it and didn't dare to. It wasn't that he didn't want to break through, but that he wasn't confident. At most, he only had a 20 to 30% chance of success. If he forced himself to break through, death would be normal, but breaking through would be abnormal. That was why he racked his brains to find the sky crystal. Fortunately, he successfully obtained the sky crystal. Feng Qinzong had a chance of breaking through. His chances of success increased by 40%, which was more than 50%. Even so, he still needed a lot of other materials. Even if he prepared all of them, he didn't dare to say that he had a 100% chance of breaking through. There was still a chance of failure. One could imagine how difficult it was to break through to true monarch. That was why Feng Qinzong strived for perfection. Everything had to be the best, and everything had to be well prepared. He wouldn't allow any accidents to happen to himself. Especially if he had the ability to solve a problem, he had to solve it before breaking through. Gold and crowstone could be found in both normal and high-quality ores. What Feng Qinzong wanted was high-quality ores. Of course, high-quality ores were better, but high-quality ores were too hard to come by. It wasn't that he didn't work hard, but that he couldn't just use high-quality ores because he didn't have that many. Exine said, "All right, as long as you find high-quality and high-quality ores, you can give them to eldest senior brother first." Lei Xingfeng also said, "Let eldest senior brother gather 500 pounds of high-quality golden crow stone first." Lei Xingfeng would think of a way to help his eldest senior brother. As fellow apprentices and members of the same secret sect, they were bound together for good or ill. They all understood that having a true monarch as their eldest senior brother was a great help to them. Of course, you had to make a certain contribution. No one would treat you well for no reason. Feng Qinzong said, "Let's go forward a bit, and we should reach the mining area. Then, we'll spread out and search." Everyone nodded and followed Feng Qinzong. A few minutes later, they saw large rocks all over the ground. They were different from the stone eggs in the Great Stone Quarry. Each rock here was 7 to 8 meters tall. They were all black and could be found everywhere. Large amounts of black weeds grew in the gaps between the rocks. Lei Xingfeng said in surprise, "This is the place where the golden crow stone is produced? What strange rocks! Could it be that the golden crow stone is among these rocks?" Feng Chinzong smiled bitterly. You're right. The golden crow stone is among these rocks. Xianzhouan said, then let's break it open and see. He directly launched an attack. With a boom, a huge rock was blown away. Then, he excitedly went forward to search. Jean Dia and the others also went forward to help search. After a while, they all looked disappointed. Xianzhouan said, eldest senior brother, there's nothing. There's not even a shadow of the golden crow stone. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Feng Chinzong said, no. This is a large area of rocks like this. Among them, there are very few that contain the golden crow stone. If you want to find it, you need a bit of luck. He looked at Lei Xingfeng again. Lei Xingfeng said helplessly, I'm the lucky baby, right? Everyone laughed. As long as Lei Xingfeng was there would be a harvest. Xianzhouan didn't doubt it. He said, Feng, go take a look. Maybe you can find a rock that contains the golden crow stone. Haha, I believe in you. Lei Xingfeng flew into the air and looked around. This area was about 100 square kilometers. It was all huge black rocks. If they were to break open the rocks one by one, it would take at least a few years to complete the search. This was the difficulty of mining. Among the cultivators, there were almost no one who could identify the mineral deposits. They all searched according to the ancient records of the star python. Finding a mine was very difficult. This was why Feng Chinzong spent so much effort to bring Lei Xingfeng along. This time, Lei Xingfeng made up his mind to help Feng Chinzong. If he could help him, he believed that Feng Chinzong would not refuse if he asked for help in the future. Feng Chinzong looked at Lei Xingfeng expectantly. He knew that even if everyone went to break open the rocks, the chances of finding the golden crow stone would be very low. Lei Xingfeng nodded. You guys take a rest first. Uncle Jean, come with me to take a look. Jean Dia nodded and followed Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng wasn't interested in the outer area. He flew to the center area. Soon, Lei Xingfeng found that a rock was different. He saw a trace of golden light and immediately knew that there was something on this rock. He secretly marked it in his heart and continued to fly in circles. However, his flying speed was very slow. He kept searching for the rocks below. Lei Xingfeng secretly sighed. There were very few rocks that contained the golden crow stone. Usually, there would only be one every few dozen meters. There were good and bad things. After walking around for a few hours, Xianfeng had a rough idea of what to do. He called out and brought Jean Dia back. Lei Xingfeng said, I found a few rocks. There should be something there. Everyone follow me. I'll point out the rocks and leave one person to collect. Feng Chinzong was overjoyed. He had never seen Lei Xingfeng find a mine, but for some reason, he believed him. Okay, if we collect enough golden crow stone this time, Feng will be the winner. Lei Xingfeng smiled. Let's go take a look first. I'm also betting on luck. Maybe we'll succeed. Maybe. Feng Chinzong immediately interrupted him. We'll succeed. We'll definitely succeed. No matter what, we have to King succeed. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. This guy was like a gambler, staking everything on a single throw. Xianfeng quickly brought everyone to a large boulder that he had his eyes on. On top of it was a golden glow. He spoke, It's this one. Who's going to break it open? Feng Chinzong hurriedly said, I'll do it. I'll do it. Chapter 2:16. Boom. Feng Chinzong smashed the 8-meter-tall boulder into pieces with one strike. With a crash, the boulder collapsed. Everyone was still in the air. Before they even landed, they could already see a lot of golden crow stones. This feature was too obvious. They had golden threads and shone with a golden light. Xianzhouan said, Wow, there really is. Jean Dia said, You still don't believe in a Feng's power. When has a Feng ever failed? Everyone worked together and quickly searched through the boulder. There were more than 50 pounds of fine golden crow stones and many normal golden crow stones. Feng Chinzong's face bloomed with joy. He didn't know what to say. After a while, he said, A Feng, you really are my lucky star. You're too amazing. Just a casual point of your finger, and there's a golden crow stone. Again. Lei Xingfeng continued to lead everyone. After a while, he said, I like this one. Xi and Xiaoluan attacked first. As expected, it was another boulder with golden crow stones. Yin Yao was puzzled. How is this possible? Nice. Just because it's nice, there's a golden crow stone. This is too strange. She also wanted to try, so she ran to the side. After a while, she finally found a boulder. She muttered, I like this one. There should be golden crow stones too, right? Boom. Yin Yao smashed the boulder and began to search. She was quickly disappointed. Not to mention fine golden crow stones. There wasn't even a normal golden crow stone. Lei Xingfeng helped clear the rubble and search for ores. While he was busy, he heard a loud explosion not far away. He ignored it and continued searching. Who knew that not long after, another loud explosion came. He finally looked up and saw that Yin Yao was busy smashing the boulder. He thought for a moment and said, there shouldn't be any golden crow stones over there. What is Shiji doing? After this boulder was smashed, they found more than 60 pounds of golden crow stones. Feng Shenzong was very satisfied. At this speed, it wouldn't take long to gather all the golden crow stones. Boom! This was the sixth boulder that Yin Yao had smashed. Her only reward was that she was covered in dust, and she did not even find a single strand of hair. Feng Shenzong asked curiously, what's wrong? Xi and Xiaoluan spread out his hands and said, probably. I'm just saying probably. The little demon was provoked by a phone. Feng Shenzong was stunned. That stupid girl. With a lucky guy like a phone around, why would she go find a mine by herself? Xi and Xiaoluan smiled and said, maybe Xiao Yao wants to compete with a phone in luck? Haha, you've lost before you even started. Boom. It's over, Feng Shenzong said. Little demons acting up. Whatever. Don't worry about her. She'll wake up soon. A phone, let's continue. Do you like that rock? Lei Xingfeng really wanted to say, I don't like any stone. He flew up and said, come, there's a boulder. When I look at it, I think it's good. Feng Shenzong quickly followed. He now completely believed in Lei Xingfeng's luck. It was a giant boulder, more than 20 meters tall and 10 meters wide. Its shape was very strange. One end was sharp and the other was round. It looked like a water droplet lying down. Lei Xingfeng flew to the top of the boulder and said, this, who's going to smash it? Feng Shenzong said, I'll do it. I'll do it. Boom. Feng Shenzong used a bit of strength this time, and the boulder immediately shattered into pieces. Feng Shenzong continued to attack. Boom, boom, boom. Feng Shenzong excitedly smashed the boulder. When the dust settled, he landed. When he saw the shattered boulder, he couldn't help but exclaim, I didn't miss once. I hit it again. This boulder contains a large amount of golden crow stones. Ha ha ha. Everyone rushed up again and began to pick the golden crow stones. This time, it took a lot of time, but the harvest made Feng Shenzong smile from ear to ear. More than 170 kilograms of golden crow stones. At this time, Yin Yao flew over. Her face was very pale, and she was covered in dust. She was very unconvinced. Why? Xi and Xiaoluan said, Little Yao, what's wrong? Yin Yao said angrily, why didn't I find a single golden crow stone after smashing a dozen boulders? Is my luck that bad? Feng Shenzong said, Little Yao, why are you trying to compete with a Feng in luck? Do you have nothing to do after eating? Yin Yao said, I just don't believe in bad luck. Xi and Xiaoluan laughed. How about you have a competition? Whoever loses will take out 10 yin rings. How about that? Although Yin Yao was stubborn, she wasn't stupid. Lei Xingfeng pointed out 3 boulders, and none of them were wrong. She had smashed a dozen boulders, and none of them were right. If they were to bet, she believed that she would lose, and lose very badly. Conservatively speaking, she wouldn't even be able to keep her underwear. She might even lose her body to Lei Xingfeng. She said, what's there to compete for? No. Everyone laughed. Feng Shenzong said, don't doubt it. You have to believe it when you're with a Feng. I don't know what you think, but I believe it. Yin Yao finally understood that she was just jealous. She said, a Feng, when the time comes, just point out a boulder for me. Lei Xingfeng looked around and memorized a lot of boulders that contained golden crow stones. He wasn't afraid that there wouldn't be enough. He smiled. No problem. Yinyao was satisfied. That's more like it. Back then, if it weren't for us, you wouldn't have been taken in as a disciple. Hee hee. All right, let's continue. Don't just stand there like an idiot. One boulder after another was smashed. Soon, Feng Chinzong had collected enough golden crow stones. He said, "All right, I have enough. You guys save some too. This stuff is quite rare. Even if you don't need it when you become a monarch, it will be useful in the future. Even if you don't need it, you can exchange it for other things." After Lei Xingfeng pointed out a boulder to Xi and Zholuan and Yinyao, he started collecting golden crow stones himself. He brought Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love to a boulder. "Uncle Jean, you attack it. Break it." Jean Dia smiled. "All right, watch me." Boom. Everyone here had the ability to break the boulder in one hit. The boulder couldn't withstand the attack of a monarch sage. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love followed. The two started attacking the boulder. After a while, the ground was covered in rubble. Everyone started picking up the golden crow stones. After a few days of hard work, everyone was satisfied. In fact, everyone understood one thing. Lei Xingfeng didn't rely on luck. He had a special method to know if there was a golden crow stone in the boulder. However, no one said anything. No one asked. They knew that pretending to be confused was the best. In the future, they could ask Lei Xingfeng for help. If they offended Lei Xingfeng because of this, it wouldn't be worth it. They were all smart people, so no one said anything. Of course, they didn't mention luck either. No one's luck could be like this. As long as Lei Xingfeng pointed out a boulder, it wouldn't miss. It was impossible to rely on luck. If they really had this kind of luck, they wouldn't need to cultivate. They would just find a way to improve their luck. In fact, there were still many boulders in the entire mine that contained golden crow stones. However, Lei Xingfeng had already decided to stop. There was no need to spend too much energy on it. A certain amount was enough. Smoke liquid. This was the last material Feng Chinzong needed. As long as he collected this material, he would go into seclusion and prepare to break through. Feng Chinzong couldn't hide the smile on his face. He tried his best to control his emotions. After so many years, he finally had the chance to break through to Monarch Sage. This time, the chance was extremely good. There was a high chance of success. How could he be calm? Lei Xingfeng said, "Eldest senior brother, if you break through, I'll have to call you Martial Uncle." Feng Chinzong smiled. "Of course. You can break through once and become their 8th junior brother. 3rd junior brother will become 2nd junior brother." Xi and Zholuan said, "Among Master's disciples, you're the only one who has the confidence to break through. When you succeed, Master's faction will become stronger and will be able to bask in the glory." Lei Xingfeng smiled. "Wow, I can still break through." Then he said dejectedly, "Even if I break through, it's useless. I'm still the last one." Everyone laughed. Xi and Zholuan said, "Then why don't you encourage Master to take in another disciple? Then you could be a senior brother." Lei Xingfeng curled his lips and said, "Hee hee, that's hard to say. Maybe when I break through to Monarch, I won't be in this line anymore." Everyone was speechless. If it was so easy to break through to Monarch, the world would be filled with monarchs. Gucci had a total of 9 disciples. After so many years, only Feng Chinzong had the confidence to break through. The others didn't even need to think about it. And this was after he obtained the Sky Crystal. But which of the other senior brothers and junior sisters could obtain such a heaven-defying treasure? No one knew that Lei Xingfeng had a large amount of Sky Crystal and Saint Crystal in his hands. So even if others didn't believe his words, Lei Xingfeng knew that he had the confidence to break through to Monarch. Lei Xingfeng was secretly proud. With the Sky Crystal and Saint Crystal, as long as he broke through to 9th ring, he would have the qualifications to break through to Monarch. When he reached the critical point, he could use the Saint Crystal, which was the gold liquid, to increase his chances of success by 60%. This didn't even include his own success rate. Unfortunately, the silver liquid and gold liquid couldn't be used together or repeatedly. There was only one chance. He only had this one chance, but it was an extremely rare chance. Xi and Feng felt that only with this chance could he become a monarch. This was something he already knew when he was a 7th ring sage. True Master was definitely not the peak of his cultivation. The location of the smoke water liquid wasn't far from the golden blackstone mine. Feng Qinzong had already determined this location, so he quickly brought everyone to the location. Chapter 217. This was a patch of uneven rock. There were countless bowl-sized holes in the rock, so densely packed that it was impossible to count how many holes there were. The strange thing was that these holes were all about the same size. The largest was the size of a bowl, and the smallest was the size of a rice bowl. There were at least 1,000,000 of them. Because the holes could be seen at a glance, it was much easier to find the smoke liquid. The smoke liquid was very easy to identify. Some of the holes had smoke liquid, while others were just clear water. The difference between the two was very clear. Anyone could see the difference. Soon, Feng Qinzong found a hole. Everyone, come and take a look. This is the smoke liquid. Everyone went to take a look. The so-called smoke water liquid was like a drop of black ink in water. Before it completely dissolved, it looked like the smoke water liquid now. It could only be seen with light. Of course, with the sharp eyes of a cultivator, they could see it even without a strong light. Feng Qinzong said, the smoke liquid has a special characteristic. It can't come in contact with any metal. So, it needs to be in a stone or jade container. Ceramic jars and bottles are also fine. If you really don't have any, bamboo pipes are fine too. Lei Xingfeng said, understood. Feng Qinzong took out a tool made of bamboo. It was a bamboo tube with a bottom and a long bamboo handle. Lei Xingfeng saw this and couldn't help but smile. He had seen this in his previous life. It was a tool used to fetch wine from a wine jar. It was very convenient to use it to get wine out of a wine jar. He gave one to everyone. Xi and Jelon laughed. Eldest senior brother came prepared. Feng Qinzong said, this is for all of you. This time, each of you should search separately. Whatever you find will belong to you. Let me remind you, there are different levels of smoke liquid. High-quality smoke liquid is the green one, while high-quality smoke liquid is the silver one. It all depends on your luck. Oh, right, let me remind you, a small bottle of smoke liquid, can be exchanged for 16 rings, high quality for 10 rings, and high quality for 20 rings. Everyone, work hard to find them. Everyone immediately understood that this was Feng Qinzong's compensation for everyone. Lei Xingfeng muttered, smoke liquid is actually so valuable. This is simply inconceivable. Xi and Jialuan was also very surprised. He said, eldest senior brother, why haven't I heard of it? You lazy bum, Feng Qinzong said. When it comes to advancement, I've never seen you work hard. What you should learn, you don't learn and run around. I'm too lazy to lecture you. You're the third senior brother. If you continue like this, you'll be overtaken by the junior brothers and sisters. Xi and Jialuan looked at him gloomily. After a while, he said, Okay, I'll work hard. Can I work hard? Lei Xingfeng and Yin Yao snickered. They were happy to see Xi and Jialuan suffer. They thought it was very funny. In fact, they all knew that as a senior brother, Xi and Jialuan was really good and took good care of his junior brothers and sisters. Lei Xingfeng became a disciple of Gucci. Of all the senior brothers and sisters, only Xi and Jialuan took good care of him. If it wasn't for Xi and Jialuan's recommendation, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't have taken him to the Great Stone Fields. Therefore, Lei Xingfeng was very grateful to Xi and Jialuan. He had a very good impression of this senior brother. Xi and Jialuan turned his head and saw the two snickering. He said angrily, Why aren't you looking for smoke liquid? What are you laughing at? He also couldn't help but laugh. It had been a long time since he was lectured by a senior brother. He actually felt very close to it. Under Gucci, the master basically didn't discipline the disciples. They were basically free sheep, and the disciples were free to do whatever they wanted. Therefore, the senior brothers and sisters were sometimes more helpful. Lei Xingfeng immediately ran away. He said to Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love, Uncle Jean, Uncle Ing, Uncle Tiger, I don't need to tell you where to find it. You can exchange it for a lot of yin rings. Haha, they're all yours. Jean Dia and the others laughed and dispersed. They didn't pay any price to come here. According to the rules of the hidden sect, anything they obtained should be given to Lei Xingfeng. If they needed it, Lei Xingfeng would take care of it. Lei Xingfeng's meaning was very clear. They didn't need to give him the smoke liquid and could exchange it for rings. Immediately, the three of them became very interested and immediately spread out to look for the smoke liquid. Lei Xingfeng once again used his special skill. This time, he could see even more clearly. Although there were many caves, he could tell at a glance which cave had the highest quality smoke liquid and which had the highest quality smoke liquid. Therefore, he only focused on collecting the highest quality smoke liquid and the highest quality smoke liquid. Everyone was diligently searching. The only one who didn't need to search was Lei Xingfeng. As long as this guy stopped, there would be a cave with the highest quality smoke liquid. He took out a container and scooped out the smoke liquid from the cave. The others were much slower. They had to check the caves one by one. If it was smoke liquid, they would collect it. If it wasn't, they would switch to another one. This speed couldn't be fast even if they wanted to. In a single day, Xi and Feng had collected over 600 holes, all of which were of the highest quality. Although each hole could at most hold a caddy of smoke water liquid, which was between 500 milliliters to 600 milliliters after a day of accumulation, it was still a huge amount. When it was time to rest, everyone gathered together to eat. While everyone was chatting, Feng Qinzong said, "Smoke liquid has many uses. You will know when you become a monarch. There aren't many places where smoke liquid is produced. As far as I know, this is the only place where it is produced. That's why I brought everyone here to make a fortune." Xi and Jeluan said, "I don't pay much attention to the materials used by monarchs. However, I know most of the materials used by monarchs and sages. Sai, becoming a monarch is too difficult. I don't have the confidence yet. If I can find a sky crystal, then maybe I will." Feng Qinzong said, "We can't go to the great stone fields for now. After 10 or 20 years, maybe we can go and try." Xi and Jialuan sighed and said, "Even if we can go, what can we do? There's stone eggs everywhere. It's really hopeless to find a stone egg with a sky crystal." Feng Qinzong felt the same way. He said, "That's true. It's too difficult. I searched for 17 years, and in the end, I gave up. Haha, but luckily I succeeded once. So, Shitty, if you have the same spirit, maybe you'll succeed." Jean Daya and the others weren't optimistic that Xi and Jialuan would find another sky crystal. This thing was the hardest to find. Jean Daya said, "If someone finds a sky crystal mine, then it's going to be a disaster." Lei Xingfeng said, "It's not just a disaster, it's going to be a bloodbath." Xi and Jialuan nodded and said, "That's right, it's going to be a bloodbath. Unless no one finds out, as long as the news spreads. Hee, with so many ninth ring sages, who wouldn't want a sky crystal? Who knows how many people will die?" Feng Qinzong really wanted to leave. Although he still needed some smoke liquid, he could collect it in a few days. If it weren't for everyone's feelings, he would have gone back in a few days. Feng Qinzong knew very well that leaving after collecting the liquid wasn't a very nice thing to do. So he hesitated. No matter what, they were 2 junior brothers and 1 junior sister. He had to let them get some benefits before leaving. Otherwise, he would really offend them. He sighed inwardly. No matter how anxious Feng Qinzong was, he had to wait. Lei Xingfeng knew the benefits of the smoke liquid, so of course he wouldn't let it go. It was much more useful than the golden black stone, and it could be used in a wide range. Of course, this only applied to monarchs. Ninth ring sages couldn't use it all. This was also why Xi and Jialuan didn't know much about the smoke liquid. After hurriedly finishing the rations, Lei Xingfeng ran out to look for smoke liquid. The others did the same. They hurriedly ate until they were half full, drank some hot soup, and immediately went to look for smoke liquid. Especially Jean Daya, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love. This was obviously a gift of rings, so how could they let it go? Every bit of smoke liquid they could find was worth it. Lei Xingfeng was different. He only looked for high-quality smoke liquid. In the process of searching for the smoke water liquid, Xi and Feng had seen quite a few peculiar lights. At first, he didn't pay much attention to them and only searched for the lights of the best quality smoke water liquid, the silver and light green lights. He didn't know why, but he was able to see these lights while others didn't seem to notice them. In fact, other than these 2 lights, if Lei Xingfeng looked carefully, he could see all kinds of lights. Some were obvious, some were hidden. Generally speaking, Lei Xingfeng searched for a specific light. He basically ignored the lights in other places. But now, he started to pay attention. Based on his previous mining experience, Lei Xingfeng knew that there was usually a mine in a place with light. As for what kind of mine it was, if it wasn't targeted, he wouldn't know. There were a few times when Lei Xingfeng saw an extremely beautiful red light appear. It flickered in and out of existence. Sometimes he could see it, sometimes he couldn't. It was because of this red light that Lei Xingfeng was curious. He wondered, what is this thing? After searching for a while, Lei Xingfeng finally found the place where the red light flickered. It was a hole. It was just that this hole was filled with clear water, but there was a bright red light coming from inside. Lei Xingfeng was extremely curious. He tried to use his steel spear to probe the depth. It was less than a meter deep. After thinking for a moment, Lei Xingfeng simply started to dig. He wanted to dig out the entire hole. The rocks on the ground were black and hard. It wasn't easy to dig them out. But Lei Xingfeng was a cultivator and not an ordinary person. He still had many tricks up his sleeve. He didn't hesitate to destroy the surrounding rocks and dig bit by bit. In the end, he dug out the entire hole along with the rocks. He also wanted to see if there were any special ores around the hole. However, after taking out the entire hole, there weren't any ores in the surrounding rocks. He immediately determined that this red light should be coming from the clear water in the hole. Chapter 218. He took out a wooden basin and directly poured the clear water from the holes into the wooden basin. In the end, he was surprised to see a bundle of tangled red lines. Upon closer inspection, that thing was actually a living thing. He didn't know if it was a worm or something else. He shouted, "Eldest senior brother, third senior brother, senior sister Xiaoyao, come quickly." The surroundings were empty. Lei Xingfeng's shout attracted everyone's attention. One by one, they flew towards Lei Xingfeng. Feng Qinzong asked, "What's wrong?" Xi and Xiaolun landed and asked, "What did you find?" His reaction was quick. After learning about Lei Xingfeng's miraculous abilities, he wasn't surprised at all that this little guy would find something out of the ordinary. Lei Xingfeng pointed at the tangled red threads in the basin and said, "What is this thing?" "I got it from this hole." Feng Qinzong squatted down and examined it carefully. He said, I'm not sure. I'll need Master to identify it." "Third junior brother, do you recognize it?" Xi and Xiaolun shook his head. "I don't know. I can't tell what it is. It looks like a worm or a few worms. I don't know what it's used for." Yinyao also looked carefully. She said, "It's just a worm. What's there to be surprised about?" But Lei Xingfeng didn't think it was a normal worm. This thing was glowing red and a very bright red. Ever since he discovered his special ability to find ores, anything that glowed brightly was valuable. He had already decided to collect these thread-like red worms. Everyone spread out again. Lei Xingfeng carefully observed the red worms. He found that there were two of them. They were as thin as a strand of hair. They should have extremely long bodies. When they curled up together, they were the size of a pigeon's egg. For such a slender body to curl up that big meant that their bodies were extremely long. He took out a jade bottle that he made in his spare time and carefully put the clear water and red worms inside. He plugged the bottle and put it into his hidden lens space. Since he knew that the red glow meant there were red worms, even though he didn't know what they were or what they were used for, Lei Xingfeng decided to collect some. He dug out 6 holes in one go and got 6 bundles of red worms. Lei Xingfeng didn't stop. After all, he didn't know what they were used for, so this many were enough. He started collecting smoke liquid again. After 6 days, Xi and Feng stopped collecting smoke water liquid. To him, it was enough. Instead, he was more interested in pitch ebony. This wood was too useful, so while others were still searching for smoke water liquid, he had already run into the Black Forest and started collecting pitch ebony. When he came to the Black Forest, he found that there were a lot of good quality black wood. He immediately started cutting, only taking the best wood in the middle and discarding the rest. After all, his hidden Luen space wasn't infinite. If he could save a little space, he would try to save as much space as possible. Exine Feng himself didn't know either. He was becoming more and more like a person who only accepted high-quality goods. He didn't even place normal goods in his eyes. He wanted the best of everything. This was also his hobby of seeing through appearances and seeing the essence of things, and only he could do this, as his eyes were different from the masses. Black wood. The wood was very delicate and tough. It was colorless and odorless. Once it was made into an object and left for a short period of time, a thin layer of glue would appear on the surface, forming a paint-like outer layer. Of course, it was much better than paint. So Lei Xingfeng's attention was focused on black wood. This thing was too rare. Just the freshness was enough to make him crazy. The hidden lune space couldn't preserve freshness, so the meat he collected was mostly dried before being stored in the hidden lune space. If it was fresh meat, it wouldn't take long for it to rot. With a container made of black wood, any food could be preserved for a long time if it was sealed well. In fact, Lei Xingfeng wanted to store fresh vegetables the most. People in this world didn't care much about fresh vegetables. They liked to eat all kinds of meat more. Lei Xingfeng was different. He liked vegetables very much in his previous world, and he liked all kinds of wild vegetables. He didn't eat much in this world, but he liked to eat vegetables that tasted good. With a container made of black wood, he could store a large amount of vegetables. The Chaos Wheel's ability to cut down trees was extremely sharp. With a single swing, a huge tree would fall, cleanly cutting off the head and tail. With the Chaos Wheel's rotation, the branches and leaves would be cut off in an instant. That wasn't all. Using the Chaos Wheel's power, Exine Feng would cut the huge tree into wooden planks. This was his latest attempt. All of them were thick wooden planks, or more accurately, thick planks, which he then stored in his hidden lune space to dry. In a day, he could cut 2 to 3 giant trees. Although it was very tiring, Lei Xingfeng didn't care at all. He knew that before becoming a monarch, the opportunities to go to the outside world were mostly given to him by others. He couldn't decide where to go, so he had to make good use of every opportunity to collect more things. Like a little ant, Lei Xingfeng worked hard to collect the resources he needed. Bit by bit, he accumulated them. Cultivators didn't just need good talent, they also needed all kinds of resources. Without the support of all kinds of resources, one wouldn't be able to go far on the path of cultivation. Lei Xingfeng became more and more aware of the importance of resources. Although he didn't take in any disciples now, he still brought many people to cultivate with him. He had to provide the resources that they consumed. Only when Tai Ming matured would he bring more resources to him. Jean Dia was very smart. After he collected enough smoke water liquid, he started collecting pitch ebony like Lei Xingfeng. The two of them cut down trees at the edge of the Black Forest. With Jean Dia's help, Lei Xingfeng didn't have to deal with the pitch ebony so meticulously. Because Jean Dia had a much larger hidden lune space than Lei Xingfeng, all the pitch ebony they cut down was stored in his hidden lune space. This saved a lot of space for Lei Xingfeng. After cutting down a lot of trees, Lei Xingfeng also noticed that the pitch ebony seemed to be different. He didn't want to ask Feng Zone, so he could only collect some of them. Among them, there was a type of pitch ebony that emitted a faint green glow. Lei Xingfeng was very interested in it. However, this type of pitch ebony was very rare. After cutting down trees for so many days, he only found 5, and they were all stored in his hidden lune space. Finally, Feng Zone flew over to inform them that they were ready to go back. Everyone gathered together, and Feng Zone sent out a location signal. Everyone's face was filled with joy. This time, their harvest was huge. Not to mention the golden crowstone, just the smoke water liquid alone was enough to trade for a lot of yin rings. Everyone stepped through the secret door. Gucci stood beside the door and smiled. "How was your harvest?" Feng Zone couldn't hide the smile on his face. "Master, I've collected everything. I could go into seclusion to break through." Gucci sighed. "It wasn't easy. My disciple also broke through to Monarch. When you succeed, I'll have another junior brother." "Ha!" Feng Zone bowed. "Master, in my heart, you will always be my master." Gucci smiled. "All right, it's enough that you have the heart. When you break through to Monarch, you could be independent. At that time, I might have a favor to ask of you." Feng Zhong said seriously, as long as Master needs it, this disciple will not refuse. Gucci nodded and said, did the gathering of materials go smoothly? Did you encounter any powerful wild beasts? Feng Zhong said, not bad. We didn't encounter any danger. He didn't mention the little red. To him, that wasn't dangerous at all. Gucci said, what did everyone get this time? Lei Xingfeng said, Master, I found a strange bug. Maybe it's a bug. I don't know what it is. Big senior brother and third senior brother can't recognize it. Gucci said, bug? Where did you get it from? Lei Xingfeng said, I found it at the smoke water liquid production site. I'll take it out for you to see. He took out a porcelain bottle and a large porcelain plate. He poured out the clear water and red thread worm from the bottle. Gucci tried for a long time, but he couldn't recognize it. At this time, Wu Yang walked in. What's the commotion? What are you looking at? Lei Xingfeng said, Founder, I brought it back. No one knows what it is. Come take a look. Wu Yang's knowledge was, without a doubt, the most extensive. He walked to the porcelain plate and saw the wriggling red threadworm. He was surprised. Smoke-eating bug. It's actually a smoke-eating bug. Ha, little guy, why are you so lucky? Lei Xingfeng asked curiously. What's a smoke-eating bug? What's its use? Wu Yang said, you can't use it. Even your master can't use it. Ha, this is incredible. How did you know? I've been looking for this thing for many years. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. Looking at the excited founder, he was already regretting. He didn't regret taking it out, but regretting that he didn't continue to collect it. He said, Founder, what is this thing? What's its use? Wu Yang said, how many did you find? Are there 2 pairs of smoke-eating bugs? There's only 1 pair here. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, there are more. He took out another porcelain bottle. In fact, he had collected 7 pairs of smoke-eating bugs. He didn't care about taking out 2 pairs. Wu Yang's hands were shaking. He didn't expect that Lei Xingfeng would find 2 pairs of such precious smoke-eating bugs. He said, smoke-eating bugs. If I succeed in becoming a Tao Lord, it'll be thanks to these 2 pairs of smoke-eating bugs. Tao Lord? Lei Xingfeng said, Founder, what Tao Lord? Isn't a true monarch? Gucci said, you haven't become a true monarch yet, so there are many things you don't know. All right, let me tell you. After becoming a true monarch, the next step is to become a heavenly monarch and then a Tao Lord. Lei Xingfeng was dumbfounded. He said, damn, Founder, you're too powerful. You're 3 levels higher than Master. Chapter 219. Gucci laughed and scolded. Little bastard, stop flattering me. There are 3 true monarchs, 3 heavenly monarchs, and 3 Tao monarchs. That's the 9th rank. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, are there any ranks above heavenly monarchs? Wu Yang shook his head and said, of course, but you don't need to know. You're only a 7th ring sage. You're too far away. You should work hard and cultivate. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. It was so hard to become a true monarch. He was thinking too much. Wu Yang said, sell this smoke-eating bug to Ancestral Master, a phone. Lei Xingfeng was very generous to his own people. He said, Ancestral Master, if you want it, I'll give it to you. Wu Yang said, you're giving it to me? Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, yes, when I collected it, I didn't think it was rare, so I gave it to Ancestral Master. Gucci was surprised. He knew that if Lei Xingfeng wanted a trade, Wu Yang wouldn't let him lose out. However, this little guy didn't care at all and gave it to him. He knew that Ancestral Master wouldn't take advantage of him and would compensate him in the future. However, this favor was more important than anything else. Once Wu Yang became a Tao monarch, he would be terrifying. With Wu Yang's lineage, it would definitely be carried forward. Wu Yang laughed and said, not bad. Not bad at all. Little guy, you're so considerate. He put away the smoke-eating bug without hesitation. Lei Xingfeng said, Ancestral Master, what is this smoke-eating bug? What is it used for? Wu Yang said, the smoke-eating bug is a necessary ingredient to concoct the truth-revealing elixir. This truth-revealing elixir is what I need when I advance. It can calm the boiling blood. Well, you don't understand now. You will understand when you become a heaven monarch. 2 pairs of smoke-eating bugs can be used to concoct 2 truth-revealing elixirs. Everyone was stunned. Heavenly monarch? Becoming a true monarch was still a long way off, let alone becoming a heavenly monarch. As for the truth-revealing elixir, no one knew what it was. Others might not have been affected by this conversation, but for Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love, the impact was especially great. They only knew of true monarchs, but they didn't know what was above true monarch. True monarchs were already beyond their reach, and they all knew that it would be difficult for them to reach that level in their lifetime. Wu Yang took out a box and said, "Here are 1,000 Yin rings." Haha, I can't take your things for free. Whenever you need Yin rings, just tell me, and I'll give it to you. Lei Xingfeng didn't refuse. He really did need the Yin rings. He reached out and placed the box into his hidden Luin space, saying, "Thank you, Grandmaster." Seeing Lei Xingfeng accept the Yin rings without hesitation, Wu Yang nodded in satisfaction. If Lei Xingfeng didn't accept it, he would be unhappy, but since he accepted it so easily, it meant that he didn't treat him as an outsider. Gucci secretly praised Lei Xingfeng in his heart. It was so natural that it was even more effective than flattery. Wu Yang said, "You should have collected quite a lot of smoke water elixir this time. Who wants to exchange it for Yin rings?" Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all answered at the same time, "Me." Wu Yang looked at Lei Xingfeng in confusion. Lei Xingfeng explained, "Everyone got something this time. I don't plan on splitting it." Wu Yang said, "You? All right, I only want the highest quality smoke water elixir. Anything below the highest quality is fine. 1 kilogram of smoke water elixir for 30 Yin rings." Jean Dia was overjoyed. He said, "I have 8 kilograms of the highest quality smoke water elixir." Mad Eagle said, "I have 11 kilograms of the highest quality smoke water elixir." Tiger Love said with a bitter face, 5 kilograms of the highest quality smoke water elixir. "Sai, how did you find so much?" Mad Eagle said proudly, "Luck, good luck." Wu Yang nodded, saying, Let's exchange." Jean Dia received 240 Yin rings. Mad Eagle had the most, receiving 330 Yin rings. Tiger Love was pitiful, only receiving 150 Yin rings. Lei Xingfeng said, "Grandmaster, why do you need so much of the highest quality smoke water elixir?" Wu Yang said, "The smoke-eating bug is fed, so feed it with smoke water. The quality of the smoke-eating bug you got is okay, but it's definitely not the best quality. Feed it with the best quality smoke water, and you can raise its quality. Moreover, the longer the smoke-eating bug grows, the better the effect of the reality-revealing medicine. The smoke-eating bug you see now is red, but when it grows to purple, it will be the best quality." Lei Xingfeng was secretly happy. He had collected at least 1,000 kilograms of the highest quality smoke water elixir and countless of the highest quality. Raising 5 to 10 smoke water elixir was no problem at all. He said, "If you don't raise them with smoke water elixir, what will happen to the smoke water elixir?" Wu Yang said, "If you raise them with clear water, they will grow shorter and shorter, and their bodies will shrink. If you raise them with normal smoke water elixir, they can only maintain their original shape. The highest quality smoke water elixir grows very slowly. Only the highest quality smoke water elixir can ensure that the smoke water elixir grows well." Lei Xingfeng nodded. I understand." Wu Yang smiled. "Smoke water elixir is actually produced in many places. Perhaps you don't know, but if I want to, I can get my hands on it. You 3 have profited greatly this time. No need to thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank your little master." Of course, Jean Dia and the others weren't stupid. The 3 of them stepped forward. "Thank you, Grandmaster." Gucci said, "Oh right, did you get some pitch ebony?" Feng Zhong slapped his head. I forgot. In fact, he didn't care about the pitch ebony at all. He said, "Oh right, a Feng seems to have collected some." Lei Xingfeng said, He did collect some. Hee, this stuff is great for making storage boxes. If Master wants, I have some here." This time, not only did Wu Yang find Lei Xingfeng pleasing to the eye, But Gucci also found Lei Xingfeng very pleasing to the eye. This disciple was very clever. Gucci said, "A phone, leave me a piece of pitch ebony." Lei Xingfeng immediately took out 2 pieces of pitch ebony. "Master, is this enough?" Gucci smiled. It's enough, it's enough." Every hidden door was like this. The elders opened the door, the disciples went in, and when they came back, the elders would ask for what they needed. If they collected what they needed, the elders would either trade for it or use other methods to get it. This was basically a routine. Lei Xingfeng said, "Grandmaster, I want to ask you a question." Wu Yang was in a good mood. "Ask, as long as I know, I will tell you." Lei Xingfeng said, "Which outer world has more thunder and lightning?" Wu Yang said, "Yes, there are many places with thunder and lightning." Lei Xingfeng was overjoyed. "Many? That's great." Wu Yang said, "It's not that many, but I know of a place. That place, basically, 8 out of 10 days, there's thunderstorm. But that place is too dangerous. Do you want to go there?" Lei Xingfeng's head was like a chicken eating rice. He said, Yes, I want to go." Wu Yang said, "You just came back. It's better for you to rest a bit before going." Gucci smiled. "I don't think you have time to go there for the time being." Lei Xingfeng was surprised. "Why?" Gucci said, "When you went to the Spotted Cane Plains, there was news from the Hui continent that Ninth Ring Sage appeared there." Lei Xingfeng didn't understand. A Ninth Ring Sage? What's so strange about that? Ever since he entered the hidden sect, he no longer feared a Ninth Ring Sage. Gucci smiled. "That person is of the Thunder attribute and is very strong. They say that he destroyed a large sect and is now being hunted down." Haha, because that large sect is a peripheral organization of a hidden sect. But that person is very strong and has killed many high-level sages. The hidden sect has even issued a kill order. Anyone who kills him will be rewarded with 200 yin rings, an extremely high reward. Lei Xingfeng was stunned. Ever since he came out, other than the old man of Thunderstorm, he hadn't seen another Thunder attribute cultivator. His first thought was that this person was IE. He said, "In the Hui continent? Does anyone know his exact location?" Gucci said that I don't know. He's being hunted down by a hidden sect. He won't stay in one place for long. He's probably roaming around. Lei Xingfeng said, "I'll go to the Hui continent now." Gucci said, "The Hui continent's geography is very complicated. There are many large sects, and there are very few normal people there. Most of them are cultivators. It's called the continent of cultivators." With your 3 guards, it shouldn't be a problem. With your strength, as long as you don't run into a hidden sect, it shouldn't be a problem. Wu Yang handed Lei Xingfeng a palm-sized metal tablet. He said, "If there's any danger, insert your Yinli into it, and I'll know. If you encounter danger, don't fight it head-on. First, avoid it. You have a powerful sect, so don't be afraid. Just do it." Feng Qinzong, Xian Zhaoluan, and Yin Yao looked at the tablet enviously. They all knew that their ancestor really doted on their little junior brother. Lei Xingfeng immediately left with Jean Dia and the others. He was a little anxious. Whether or not that person was Elder Thunderstorm, he had to hurry over and take a look. After returning to his residence, he asked the servant to call Ishanel over. Lei Xingfeng gave him a few instructions, then left a portion of the black wood for Ishanel to find an expert carpenter to make all kinds of wooden objects. The main purpose was to hold all kinds of things, including wooden boxes, wooden basins, wooden frames, and wooden boxes. Especially the wooden boxes, he needed a lot of them. They could be used to store medicinal plants and other things that needed to be kept fresh. Lei Xingfeng also left behind 300 yin rings and gave them to Ishanel. He now had a large number of yin rings, and yin rings were hard currency that could be exchanged for anything. Even in the hidden sects, these things were worth a lot of money. Ishanel didn't expect Lei Xingfeng to have so many yin rings. With the number of people Lei Xingfeng had to take care of, he only needed 2 or 3 yin rings a month. According to the exchange in the hidden sects, 1 yin ring could be exchanged for 100 lun yin rings, and 1 lun yin ring could be exchanged for 100 lun rings. The price for one lun ring was around 500 gold rings, with the lowest being 300 gold rings and the highest not exceeding 600 gold rings. Therefore, the value of one ring was incomparably high. Among the large sects, organizations, and forces, rings were priceless. No one would take them out to trade. Only between the hidden sects or within the hidden sects would rings be used. Chapter 220. 300 rings was definitely a huge sum. Ishanel didn't expect Lei Xingfeng to be so good at making money. He hadn't been here for many years, but he could take out 300 rings so easily. Jean Dia was already numb. When he left the hidden door, he had already received 240 rings. This was the first time he'd received so many rings. It was unbelievable. At that moment, he finally understood why high-level sages were so eager to join a hidden door. Even if they were to become guards or fighters, they still wanted to join a hidden door. In large sects, even if you were an ancestor, you wouldn't be able to obtain so many rings. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love felt like they'd followed the right people. According to the mission, they wouldn't have received more than 10 rings on this trip to the Spotted Cane Plains. Their current income was shocking, especially Mad Eagle. He'd exchanged 11 kilograms of the highest quality smoke water liquid, which gave him a terrifying 330 rings. It was enough to push him to the peak of the 9th ring sage level. Of course, it was still impossible for him to become a monarch. Even Tiger Love, who had the least, received 150 rings. It wasn't hard to imagine how much the 3 guards had gained. After handing over some tasks, Lei Xingfeng left with Jean Dia and the others. The Hui continent was a place even more desolate than the barbarian gathering continent. However, it had the most resources, especially those suitable for low-level cultivators. Because of this, many large sects and organizations had gathered here, forming a dense and intersecting sphere of influence. Lei Xingfeng's group came down from the ancient Lun Passage and arrived at the heart of the Hui continent. The mountains here were taller than the barbarian gathering continent, and the plants were more lush. There were 4 distinct seasons here, unlike the barbarian gathering continent, which only had 2 seasons. Lei Xingfeng's group came down from the ancient Lun Passage. They were in a valley with a large road leading outside. Jean Dia said, "There should be people coming and going here often. This road is very clear, formed by people's footsteps. There's only sparse grass on the road." Mad Eagle said, "The trees here have just sprouted, and the grass has started to turn green. The climate here should be warmer soon." Lei Xingfeng said, "Let's go." He did not walk along the road, but flew directly. Jean Dia and the other 2 immediately followed, and Lei Xingfeng rose into the air. After his field of vision widened, Lei Xingfeng discovered that there was a small town right outside the valley. A torrent flowed along the side of the small town. This was a very beautiful town, different from the ones Lei Xingfeng had seen before. This was a large sect, the territory of a light Dao Gate. There were 2 enlightened masters with 3 true ring bodies and more than 100 outer disciples. Because of the Luan points, this was an important road that needed to be guarded. Lei Xingfeng looked at a tall mountain in the distance. He could vaguely see many houses on top of it. He knew that it was the location of a sect. He smiled and said, "Let's go to that sect to find out the situation." Master's words were a little vague. "I believe that this sect should know something." Jean Dia nodded. "Okay, let's fly there." The 4 of them immediately flew towards the mountain. In just a few minutes, the 4 of them arrived above the Light Dao sect station. Before the 4 of them could even land, a 6th ring Taoist master flew up to them. He looked at the 4 of them in shock, and was surprised to find that he couldn't see through any of them. The only explanation was that all 4 of them were far more powerful than he was. This person was an ancestor of the Light Dao Gate. It was his turn to be on duty today. He did not expect to meet 4 super experts. He said, "Seniors, I'm by Yinqiu of the Light Dao Gate, a 6th ring sage. May I ask who you're looking for?" Lei Xingfeng signaled Mad Eagle to negotiate. Mad Eagle said, "Mad Eagle, 9th ring sage. Bai Yanqiu was startled and almost fell. He said, Mad, Senior Eagle, hello. Mad Eagle waved his hand and said, No need to be so polite. We're not here for revenge. We just want to ask about some things. I don't think you're planning to talk here. Bai Yanqiu heaved a sigh of relief. As the great elder of the inner sect, he had seen many powerful masters. Hearing this, he heaved a sigh of relief. As long as they were not here for revenge, he would be fine. As long as they did not offend them, nothing would happen. He might even be able to make a few friends. Bai Yanqiu immediately became enthusiastic. With Bai Yanqiu's enthusiastic invitation, Lei Xingfeng and the others followed him. The disciples of the light, Dao Gate, saw the 5 people in the sky. One of them was an ancestor of the light, Dao Gate. Looking at the ancestor's humble appearance, they immediately knew that these 4 were super experts. Lei Xingfeng said, Bai Yanqiu, I need to know what happened in the Hui continent. I heard that a large sect was destroyed. Bai Yanqiu led the way and said, Senior, are you talking about the destruction of the Immortal Rock sect? Lei Xingfeng did not know which sect was destroyed. He said, Are there any other sects that were destroyed? Bai Yanqiu was surprised. He said, No, I only heard that the Immortal Rock sect was destroyed. Other than that, I don't know. Lei Xingfeng said, Then it was him. Bai Yanqiu was speechless. What did he mean by that? This person did not know anything. Lei Xingfeng indeed did not know anything. The only thing he knew was that the person who destroyed a sect was most likely his own IE. This was enough for him to come. The Light Dao Gate was not a top-tier sect. It was not even a top-tier sect. It was only close to top-tier sect. The sect had a 7th ring sage ancestor and 5 6th ring sages. They were all inner sect elders and ancestor-level experts. In a top-tier sect, a 6th ring sage could become an ancestor-level expert. Top-tier sects usually had an 8th ring sage in charge. The top tier was a 9th ring sage. This was normal in the world that Lei Xingfeng was born in. This was not a resource-rich world. 8th and 9th ring sages would usually fight to enter a secret sect. Therefore, large sects were usually backed by secret sections. As for a top-tier sect like the Light Dao Gate, they might not have a true monarch behind them. They could also be a disciple of a true monarch. The large sects in this world were basically all divided by secret sections. Even Gucci had 2 large sections. However, they were managed by AI-8. Disciples like Lei Xingfeng would not interfere. It was actually very easy to control a sect. As long as the other party did not have a secret sect backing them, there was basically no sect that could resist the invasion of a secret sect disciple. Any secret sect disciple would have a group of high-level true monarchs. He could take over the sect without even showing his face. Generally speaking, sects also hoped to have the support of secret sections. This was because only secret sects could obtain rings and rare materials. When they arrived at the VIP hall of the Light Dao Gate, everyone sat down. Bai Yanqiu gave a few orders to his disciples. Immediately, 2 of them ran out. 10 minutes later, an old man walked in. He looked at Lei Xingfeng in shock. People of the same level could sense something. He looked at Lei Xingfeng in disbelief. He knew that Lei Xingfeng was very young, but his strength was similar to his own. This was too shocking. He then glanced at Jean Dia and the other 2. He was even more shocked. He could sense Lei Xingfeng, but the other 3 did not. This meant that they were stronger than him. The old man walked over. Bai Yanqiu immediately greeted him. Senior brother. The old man nodded. Hello everyone. I am Niu Daheng of the Light Dao Gate, 7th ring sage. Lei Xingfeng stood up. Lei Xingfeng, 7th ring sage. Jean Dia and the other 2 stood behind Lei Xingfeng. Although they sat down, it was obvious that they were guards. Niu Daheng was stunned. He asked, Who are these 3 guests? Jean Dia said lightly, We're just guards. There's no need to say more. It's our young master who wants to talk to you. He helped to keep the situation under control. Niu Daheng didn't react, but Bai Yanqiu was shocked. He knew that one of them was a 9th ring sage. He was Lei Xingfeng's guard. What kind of background did he have to have such a powerful guard? Bai Yanqiu quickly interrupted. Everyone, please take a seat. Both sides landed. Lei Xingfeng was still sitting in the guest seat. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love sat behind him. It was indeed a standard guard position. Niu Daheng and Bai Yinqiu's mouths twitched. A seventh ring sage actually needed guards? This was ridiculous. The two cursed in their hearts. They couldn't figure out who in this world could bully a seventh ring sage. Lei Xingfeng didn't care how much trouble he caused. He said, "Can you tell me about the Immortal Rock Sect? Why were they destroyed?" Who destroyed them? Niu Daheng and Bai Yinqiu looked at each other. They didn't understand either. For Supermasters came here just to ask such a small question? This is so King baffling. Bai Yinqiu said with a smile, Senior, it's like this. We don't know much about the destruction of the Immortal Rock Sect. Haha, if you want to know more, you have to go to the Immortal Rock Sect. Lei Xingfeng said, "Don't call me senior. Tell me everything you know. I didn't ask you for details." Bai Yinqiu then said, "I heard that it was destroyed by an old man. As for why, I don't know. This person is very strong. He should be a ninth ring sage. He killed a ninth ring grand elder of the Immortal Rock Sect and then completely massacred the Immortal Rock Sect. I heard that blood flowed like a river. Only a few young, low-level disciples escaped. And it seems that the old man finally let go." Lei Xingfeng said, "What does the old man look like?" Bai Yinqiu smiled bitterly. I really don't know. I only know that the old man has an extremely rare lightning attribute. Once he fights, it's said that the area around him is filled with lightning. It's very scary." Chapter 2:21. Lei Xingfeng's heart skipped a beat. He recalled that Elder Thunderstorm seemed to have used this move before. When he fought, the surroundings would be filled with flashing lightning. However, it should not be very powerful. However, after thinking about it, he understood. He was already a seventh ring sage. Could it be that Elder Thunderstorm did not improve? Lei Xingfeng said, What happened after the sect was destroyed?" Bai Yinqiu said, "Well, I heard that after the sect was destroyed, a large number of experts came. That old man killed many of them. Finally, he was outnumbered and escaped. I heard that there are still many experts chasing after him." Lei Xingfeng said, "How many experts are attacking him? Who are they?" Bai Yinqiu shook his head and said, "I don't know about this either. It has been a while. We're just talking about it as a novelty. No one has looked into it." Lei Xingfeng sighed to himself. He knew that it was already very good to be able to find out about this. Although he did not know if that old man was Thunderstorm, he had a feeling that the old man was very similar to Thunderstorm. He said, "Is there anyone left in the Immortal Rock Sect?" Bai Yinqiu said, "Yes, there are still cultivators living in the Immortal Rock Sect's base." I heard that the experts who were chasing after the old man sent a group of cultivators to reopen the sect." Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "If that is the case, thank you very much." Bai Yinqiu said, You're welcome. He was extremely fearful of Xine Feng's group of 4. The strength of these 4 was enough to wipe out a sect. A quasi-first-rate sect like theirs wouldn't be able to defend against such a force. Thus he was extremely careful, not daring to offend them in the slightest. Lei Xingfeng did not have the intention to destroy them. After all, they did not provoke him. After thinking for a moment, Lei Xingfeng said, "Do you have a map to the Immortal Rock Sect? Which lone points do we need to pass to reach the Immortal Rock Sect?" He decided to go and see for himself. Bai Yinqiu was secretly delighted. He said, "Yes, I have the route map to the Immortal Rock Sect." After obtaining the route map, Lei Xingfeng was in a much better mood and a smile appeared on his face. Bai Yinqiu knew that they had overcome a difficult time, so he politely invited Lei Xingfeng and the others to have a meal together. Lei Xingfeng said, "I want to ask about someone. Have you seen him before?" Bai Yinqiu asked, "Who is it?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Aslan, a 4th ring sage." Maybe 5th ring now. Do you know him?" Bai Yinqiu said, "Aslan? I've never heard of it." Lei Xingfeng was just casually asking, in a foreign land. If he met any cultivators, he would always ask, but he would always be disappointed, but he was already used to it, and said, "Then forget it. If you see them in the future, inform the people here. He gave the contact point of the secret sect in Huey continent. Bai Yinxiu solemnly noted it down and said, "When I get the news, I will send someone to inform them." A sixth ring sage's promise was still reassuring. Since Bai Yinxiu had agreed, Lei Xingfeng knew that he would definitely send the news. He nodded and thanked him. "Thank you very much. If you have accurate information, you will be rewarded with the Yin ring." Bai Yinxiu was immediately overjoyed and said, "Okay." A Yin ring was nothing in the secret sect, but in the Light Dao sect, it was worth a lot. Even a single Yin ring would attract the attention of the elders. Yin rings could be used to aid in breaking through bottlenecks, especially for Bai Yinxiu. If he saved up a few Yin rings and used them when he was breaking through from 6th ring to 7th ring, his chances of breaking through would be much higher. In the hearts of all high-level sages, Yin rings were an extremely precious hard currency. Whether it was for personal use or for trade, they were very useful. Although Bai Yinxiu might not be able to get news of Aslan, with the temptation of a Yin ring, he would take the initiative to send someone to look for him. As long as Aslan entered the Huey continent, he was confident that he would be able to find him. A 6th ring sage had already stepped into the threshold of a high-level sage and had some influence in the major sections. After hosting Lei Xingfeng and the others for a meal and a night's rest, Lei Xingfeng brought the three on the road again. This time, he planned to go directly to the Immortal Rock sect. The Immortal Rock sect was not close to the Light Dao sect, but after passing through a Luan Point and the Ancient Lin Passage, the distance was limited. After passing through a Luan Point, Lei Xingfeng and the others had already reached the Immortal Rock sect's territory. Just as they passed through the Ancient Lin Passage and exited the Immortal Rock sect's Luan Point, Lei Xingfeng and the others were surrounded. More than 100 practitioners surrounded the Luan Point. Any practitioner who exited the Luan Point would be surrounded. Even if you immediately activated the Luan Point to escape, you would not be able to do so. This was because once activated and the opponent attacked the Luan Point, it would be very dangerous. Lei Xingfeng had experienced this before and almost lost his life. Lei Xingfeng looked coldly at the opponent. With just one look, he knew that there were two experts on the other side. One was a 9th ring sage, while the other was an 8th ring sage. Lei Xingfeng's vision was different from others. He could see things that others could not see clearly. He could already easily distinguish the characteristics of high-level sages. Jean Dia stepped forward and asked, "Who are you people?" His face was gloomy. One look, and he knew that this group of people did not have good intentions. Of course, he would not greet them with a smile. Among this group of people, there were more than 10 sages. The rest were mill-wheel masters and Wan Luan Shi. They were all extremely low-level disciples. Lei Xingfeng already understood that this place was a barrel of gunpowder. He did not know which sect had been destroyed, so they acted as if they were taking revenge. But Lei Xingfeng was also unhappy. Firstly, the Immortal Rock sect might have been attacked by Elder Thunderstorm. Secondly, the Luan Point and the Ancient Lin Passage were used by high-level practitioners. No sect should control the Luan Point. It was too much of a threat to the practitioners. A 4th ring sage stepped forward and said, "Report. Which sect are you from? What business do you have with our Immortal Rock sect?" Jean Dia was not easy to deal with. He said coldly, "Report your mother's name." "Scram. This is the Luan Point, not your Immortal Rock sect." "Scram. Scram. Scram." He waved his hand as if he was swatting a fly. Lei Xingfeng stared at the 9th ring sage to prevent him from attacking. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love were also on guard. The 4 of them released their auras, forcing the other party to retreat. At this moment, the other party understood that these were 4 super experts. The 9th ring sage hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Brolo, 9th ring sage, may I ask who you are?" He seemed to want to use his rank to suppress the other party. 9th ring sages deserved respect, no matter where they were. Who knew that Jean Dia was not easy to talk to? He had just gone off the Luan Point and was surrounded by a group of people. Although he was very humble, once he was in a bad mood, no one could do anything. He said, "What the hell? Is ninth ring that great? You dare to bring people to surround the Lewin point when you're only ninth ring? Scram! Barolo's heart was pounding. It was not that he did not have foresight. With his strength, when the four of them got off the Lewin point, he already knew that they were super experts. Especially Jean Daya and the other two. All three of them were ninth ring sages. This was rare. This is the territory of the Immortal Rock sect. Who are you telling to scram? Jean Daya was instantly amused. He said, I'm telling you to scram. How about it? It was an absolute provocation. Lei Xingfeng suddenly realized that Jean Daya wanted to fight. He did not intend to resolve the problem peacefully. This was also what Lei Xingfeng wanted. He wanted to capture people. The other party only had one ninth ring sage and one eighth ring sage. The others were not to be feared. The four of them could definitely suppress the other party. Barolo also sensed that something was wrong. He said, You're deliberately provoking us, right? Jean Daya scolded. Are you the one provoking us? Or am I the one provoking you? What do you want to do with a large group of people? F*CK, if you don't scram kill. Barolo was shocked. He didn't expect Jean Daya to fight just like that. He hadn't even said a few words and had already attacked. Jean Daya attacked. Mad Eagle, Tiger Love, and Lei Xingfeng also rushed out. The four of them directly attacked. In an instant, Barolo was stunned. Lei Xingfeng only used his fists and feet. He rushed into the crowd. Most of these people were low-level cultivators. The Mill Wheel Master and Wan Luanshi made up the majority. They seemed to have the advantage in numbers, but when faced with high-level cultivators, they were basically cannon fodder. Without using lightning or chaos wheel, Xian Feng only used his fists and legs to attack. After a series of pi-pi-pa-pa-pa sounds, the ground was filled with corpses. The four of them had a tacit understanding they didn't kill a single person, only knocking them down. There could be contradictions, conflicts, and battles, but there was no need to kill for the time being. After all, they knew in their hearts that the other party was from a secret sect. They knew very well about the strength of a secret sect. As long as they did not kill or kill a few small fries, it was not a big problem. If they killed the other party's experts, they would become enemies. A secret sect against another secret sect. If there was no deep hatred between the two sides, it was best not to kill. In less than 2 minutes, the ground was covered in people. Only Barolo and the eighth ring sage were still resisting. Jean Daya, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love rushed forward and immediately knocked down the two people. Lei Xingfeng stepped forward with a smile and said, Okay, you can tell me. Who are you? Barolo was flustered and exasperated. He said, You will pay the price. We're from a secret sect. If you dare to capture me, the consequences will be very serious. Lei Xingfeng slapped him a few times and said with a smile, Oh, what consequences are so serious? What's wrong with a secret sect? Is a secret sect that great? Then he slapped him a few more times. Barolo's face suddenly swelled. He glared at Lei Xingfeng with hatred and said, I won't let you go. Remember, I won't let you go. You're a seventh ring sage. How dare you hit me? Before he could finish, he was slapped a few more times. Chapter 222. Lei Xingfeng laughed and said, You idiot, you still want to be ruthless at this time? Do you believe that I will dig out your eyes and cut off your hands and feet so that you can't do anything? Hee hee. Barolo suddenly shivered. This was too vicious. Even if the other party didn't destroy his cultivation, but cutting off his hands and feet and digging out his eyes, even if he was a true monarch, he was completely finished. This fear made him not dare to speak carelessly. The group of unconscious cultivators gradually woke up, but no one dared to get up. They all looked at their most powerful ancestor being slapped in the face. No one would not be afraid. While Xian Feng was slapping Broluo, Jean Daya was beating up that eighth-ringed true body fellow. His fists hit flesh, causing crackling sounds. He didn't ask any questions and just beat him up, causing that fellow to cry out in pain. Finally, Jean Daya stopped and said faintly, What's your name? The guy was beaten black and blue. He said with a sad face, Sun Butong. My name is Sun Butong. Lei Xingfeng was immediately attracted and said, There's a Sun Butong. Do you know him? Sun Butong seemed to see some hope and said, You know Sun Butong? Oh, he's my brother. Lei Xingfeng's face was completely black. Now he was sure that the person who appeared in the Immortal Rock sect was Elder Thunderstorm. Sun Butong appeared last time and wanted to capture Aslan and his little sister. This made him sure that the other party was Elder Thunderstorm's enemy. This was a big harvest. Lei Xingfeng sneered and said, Very good, too damn good. Sun Budong's fiery heart suddenly cooled down. Lei Xingfeng's attitude made him understand that this was not a friend, but an enemy. He couldn't help but show a look of despair. Lei Xingfeng said, Very good, Sun Budong. Sun Budong, are we brothers? Sun Budong's heart was filled with panic. High-level cultivators were mostly afraid of death. It wasn't easy for them to cultivate to this level. They had extremely high status and enjoyed a good life. They also had power that others envied. Asking them to die was truly a tragic thing. Yes, we are blood brothers. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, So it's also in a secret door? When Sun Budong heard the two words hidden sect, his heart calmed down a little. In this world, very few people would provoke a hidden sect. He nodded and said, That's right. We are from the same hidden sect. Lei Xingfeng said, There's someone you should know, right? Sun Budong asked who. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, Si Tanua. If Sun Budong had looked closely at Lei Xingfeng, he would have seen Lei Xingfeng's mouth twitching. Sun Butong replied, Yes, he is a direct disciple and has a very high status. Jean Dia said, A phone, do you know them? Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, Not only do I know them, haha, I was almost killed by them. Sun Budong's whole body began to tremble. These words were really full of hatred. Originally, he thought that Lei Xingfeng and Si Tenua were old friends, and maybe he could escape with his life. But according to Lei Xingfeng's words, the hope of survival was almost hopeless. Brolo roared from the side. Are you going to kill us? Are you going to kill us? Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, You are really smart. Brolo's expression collapsed, and he said, Spare me. Mad Eagle was dumbfounded. He said, phone, what did he say? Lei Xingfeng said, Spare me. That, I don't think I heard wrong. Another voice came from the side. Spare me, I surrender. Looking back, he saw Sun Butong also shouting for mercy. Lei Xingfeng was speechless. After a while, he said, Hey, you are a disgrace to the hidden sect. You should rather die than surrender. Brolo couldn't help but want to curse. Rather die than surrender? Why would he rather die than surrender? He hadn't lived long enough. Even if he left the hidden sect, he was a ninth ring sage. He could live well anywhere. Why would he court death? I don't want to die. I beg you, spare me. The dignity of a ninth ring sage, were all thrown out of the window. As long as he could survive, everything else was empty. The group of low-level disciples were dumbfounded. They had all woken up. Although their bodies were in pain, none of them made a sound. They were all as silent as cicadas in winter. Listening to the old ancestors' pleas, their bodies were trembling. This was 2F** King terrifying. They could not be afraid. The supermaster they regarded as a god was beaten like a stray dog, and he was still begging for mercy. This impact was too great. Not to mention the group of low-level disciples. Even Lei Xingfeng and the other three were shocked speechless. Jean Dia suddenly felt sad. He didn't know that this was the feeling of a fox mourning the death of a rabbit. He said, It depends on your performance. If you perform well, maybe I will help you say something. Maybe you will have a chance to live. Lei Xingfeng said, Well, you answer a few questions. If I'm not satisfied, the consequences, you know. Brolo said, Ask. As long as I know, I will not hide it. He answered very honestly. Lei Xingfeng said, The person who attacked the Immortal Rock sect this time. Why did he attack the Immortal Rock sect? Oh, right, what is his name? Brolo replied, That person is called Thunderstorm, a ninth ring sage. He is Si Dano's enemy. You and Thunderstorm are in cahoots? Lei Xingfeng kicked out, causing Brolo to somersault. He said, What do you mean in cahoots? He is I.e. Bulo Luo was shocked speechless. He knew how powerful Lei Bao was. The secret sect had gathered 6 ninth-ringed sages to surround him, but he still managed to escape. In the end, his grandson was lured out, and he even brought 3 ninth-ringed sages. At this moment, he understood that Xian Feng was definitely a disciple of the secret sect. Brolo knew how ruthless the disciples of sages were. Not only were they powerful, but they were also surrounded by experts. It would be better to seek death than to offend such people. He knew that he had fallen into the battle between 2 forces. It would be difficult to stay out of it. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Where is he?" Brolo wanted to cry. He didn't know where Elder Thunderstorm had run to. They came here to find Elder Thunderstorm. I don't know. We are also looking for him. Lei Xingfeng stood up, sighed, and said, "I really want to spare you." Brolo and Sun Budhong looked expectant, but Lei Xingfeng continued, "But I can't increase my enemies." Jean Dia understood immediately. If he let them go, the 2 of them wouldn't be weak. If the other party sent a few more powerful cultivators, once they joined forces, it would be Jean Dia's turn to beg for mercy. Therefore, he no longer spoke for these people. He wasn't that stupid. Lei Xingfeng flew into the air and said, "Let's go to the Immortal Rock Sect and take a look." Jean Dia didn't move. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love glanced at him, then followed Lei Xingfeng into the sky. Jean Dia began to kill without hesitation. Soon, Jean Dia caught up. Mad Eagle smiled and said, "Done?" Jean Dia sighed and said, "Is it okay if we don't do it?" Believe it or not, once they get away, they will definitely bring people to find us. Hee. Lei Xingfeng said, "That's for sure. I think if we let them go, those low-level disciples will definitely be slaughtered by them. It's better for us to do it. A dead enemy is a good enemy." Jean Dia agreed and said, "Well, that's good. A dead enemy is a good enemy." "That's right." Mad Eagle said, "This is the enemy we provoked. They're not simple. Hee, the strength of the secret sects is not ordinary." Lei Xingfeng said, "We are not to be trifled with either." Tiger Love said, "Should we find someone to help?" Lei Xingfeng pondered for a moment and said, "It's not time yet. I have to find Yi first." Jean Dia said, "The Immortal Rock Sect is in front." What a huge stone mountain. The Immortal Rock Sect's headquarters was located on top of the huge rock. Below it was a circle of countless houses. In the distance, the undulating mountain range and a large forest set off the Immortal Rock Sect's magnificence. Just by approaching it, one would realize that the entire Immortal Rock Sect's encampment was in a mess. Most of the houses on the ground were burned down, and the palace-like houses on the huge rock were also left with broken fences and dilapidated walls. This was the trace left behind by a huge battle. When Lei Xingfeng and the other 3 approached, a group of people flew over. Lei Xingfeng said, "Holy sh*T. There are at least 20 people, and they're all experts with at least 6 rings. Those who could fly were all experts." This was one of the characteristics of the cultivators here. Seeing a group of people flying over, even Lei Xingfeng felt his scalp tingle. The group quickly surrounded Lei Xingfeng and the others. Lei Xingfeng glanced over and was secretly shocked. 3 ninth ring sages, and the others were all 6th, 7th, and 8th ring experts. Lei Xingfeng knew that he had been too careless. He had been careless because he had 3 top-level guards. The other party had actually left behind such a powerful force in the Immortal Rock Sect. This was completely out of his expectations. Jean Dia immediately went up to negotiate. He said, "Who are you? Why are you blocking our way?" The other party did not expect there to be 3 ninth ring sages and 1 7th ring sages. They seemed to be of high status. They were all from secret sects and naturally had different views. They did not think that Lei Xingfeng's status was low just because he was weak. Just by looking at the 3 ninth ring experts surrounding Lei Xingfeng, they knew that the person in the middle had a high status. A 9th ring sages flew out and said, "Who are you? What are you doing in our Immortal Rock Sect?" Jean Dia was not that stupid. He said, "We're just passing by." "Why?" The Immortal Rock Sect is so powerful that you won't let people pass? That person said, "This is our sect's headquarters. No one is allowed to fly over it." Chapter 223. Jean Diaz sneered. Who the F asterisk CK knows what Immortal Rock Sect this is? He didn't want to back down and immediately scolded. This reaction was normal. With their strength, if the other party wasn't from a hidden sect, they didn't need to care at all. Most disciples from hidden sects were used to being overbearing. The man's expression softened a little, but then he was provoked by Jean Diaz's words. He said angrily, "What did you say?" Jean Diaz said, "What did I say? So much nonsense. Do you want to fight?" Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. He knew that the other party had a lot of scruples and wouldn't dare to fight. They had already provoked a lone ghost. If they provoked the four of them, even if they were disciples from hidden sects, they would have a headache. Sure enough, Jean Diaz's tough attitude made the other party hesitate. They had 3 ninth ring sages and 1 7th ring sages. Even if they fought, they might not be able to stop the four of them. If one of them escaped, it would be a disaster for them. The man softened his tone and said, "If you want to go over, go around from the side. Don't fly over our station." Jean Diaz knew that they couldn't fight now. If they did, the 3 of them could escape, but Lei Xingfeng was only a 7th ring sages. Something might happen to him. This wasn't something they could bear. Seeing that the other party had softened, he didn't dare to push too much. He said, "Who wants to fly over your station? We're just passing by." The man didn't dare to push either. He said, "Okay, please." Jean Diaz turned his head to indicate. Xi and Feng nodded slightly, and the 4 of them immediately changed directions, flying around from the side. The group watched the 4 leave. The leader of the 9th ring sages said, "Strange, where did they come from? For super experts wouldn't appear for no reason." He was a little confused. Another 9th ring sages said, "Maybe they're just passing by. It's not strange." The 3 ninth ring sages were confused. The last 9th ring sages said, "I also feel that something is wrong. Where do they come from? They should have come from the Lewin Point. We have people waiting there. Why didn't we hear anything?" The 9th ring sages said, "Go take a look." He pointed at a 6th ring sages. The 6th ring sages agreed and quickly flew toward the Lewin Point. Lei Xingfeng and the other 3 passed by the Immortal Rock Sect's encampment and immediately flew away at high speed, escaping into the distance. What a joke! A large group of experts had appeared in an instant. Who knew how many more experts had not come out of the encampment? When they investigated the Lewin Points, they would immediately find a ground full of corpses. They were not foolish enough to wait for the other party to chase after them. Jean Diaz said, "Find a Lewin spot. We will leave this place." Mad Eagle said, "A phone. Your IE is really something. I can't believe he dares to go against the hidden sect." Lei Xingfeng said, "Provoking me, they definitely won't have a good day. I believe that they won't send out a true monarch for this matter. If no true monarch appears, IE will be safe." Lightning-type cultivators were the least afraid of being ganged up on. This was determined by the uniqueness of the lightning type. Lightning-type cultivators' ability to attack groups was super strong, especially 9th ring sages. They were even more powerful. The hope of trapping them was very slim. Lei Xingfeng's flying speed, after a period of training, coupled with Lei Yin's usage, was definitely faster than ordinary 9th ring sages. Once the 4 of them flew, they were as fast as lightning, quickly disappearing into the horizon. On the other side, the Immortal Rock Sect's experts had already received news that the 9th ring sages, 8th ring sages, and a group of disciples guarding the Lewin Point had all been killed. The Immortal Rock Sect's experts immediately went crazy. This loss was too great. After a little analysis, they came to the conclusion that there was no one else. It must have been done by the 4 experts who had just left. The 9th ring sages in the lead was furious and issued a kill order, leading a large group of experts to chase after them. However, they were too late because Lei Xingfeng's group immediately changed direction midway. They were originally flying north, but now they were flying east and then south, which was the direction they had come from. They had completely changed their direction, and the group of people were completely wrong. Jean Dia said, "Should we go back and get reinforcements? We have too few people. Once a battle breaks out, we'll be at a disadvantage." Lei Xingfeng said, "I reckon that all the Lun points in this area have been controlled. If we want to pass through the Lun points, we have to be ahead of them." Jean Dia said, "There aren't enough Lun points here. Only 3. Oh, we're going in the wrong direction. There's only 1 Lun point here, which is the one we came from. There must be a lot of people guarding it now." Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment and said, "Not necessarily. If they find out that we killed those guards, they'll definitely think that we did it. Then they'll definitely concentrate their forces to chase after us. Hee, how many people do you think are guarding the Lun points?" Jean Dia thought for a moment and nodded. There won't be a lot of people guarding it. There might not even be experts. They won't be able to react in time." Mad Eagle said, "If it were me, I'd immediately send experts to seal the Lun points, and then send people to search for them." Lei Xingfeng said, "They won't think of this immediately. It'll take some time for them to react." That's right. Let's go back to the Lun points." The 4 of them immediately flew towards the Lun points they came from. They were about a few thousand meters away from the Lun points. The 4 of them had already landed on the ground. If they were in the air, they would be too obvious and would be discovered early. Lei Xingfeng said, "Let's sneak over." Mad Eagle said, "Why don't I go check it out first before we go over?" Lei Xingfeng said, "We can't delay. If they react, they'll definitely head towards the Lun points." Mad Eagle said, "All right, let's sneak over." The 4 of them carefully snuck towards the Lun points. As they were surrounded by tall trees, their tracks were completely hidden. Very quickly, the 4 of them arrived near the Lun points. There were a few low-level practitioners around the Lun points. They were still moving the corpses. Lei Xingfeng laughed. As expected, they haven't reacted yet. "Uncle Jean, you do it." Jean Dia laughed. "All right, I'll do it." He rushed out and punched them one by one. Those low-level disciples fell to the ground. He didn't kill them. After all, they already knew that these low-level disciples weren't worth killing. Lei Xingfeng and the rest rushed out and directly arrived at the Lun points. Before they could activate it, a person suddenly appeared in front of them. It was an old man with a face full of wrinkles. His white hair draped down to his waist, and he wore a coarse gray robe. His face was full of smiles as he said, "Just as I expected. You'll turn back, hee." Lei Xingfeng was shocked. He couldn't see through the old man's strength. The only explanation was that he was a monarch. Jean Dia was about to step forward when Lei Xingfeng pulled him back. He said, "Senior, are you going to attack?" The old man laughed. No, why would I attack? I just don't want you guys to use the Lun points. As for the grudges between you and the younger generation, you guys can settle it yourselves. I won't worry about it." Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all reacted. This person was a monarch. Beads of sweat appeared on their foreheads. This was too scary. They actually provoked a monarch. Lei Xingfeng didn't dare to activate the Lun points. He knew that if they forcefully activated the Lun points, once they entered the ancient Lun passage, the old man wouldn't even need to waste any effort. He just needed to attack a little, and they would be in trouble. So he immediately retreated and said, "Let's go." The old man didn't stop them at all. He just smiled as he watched them leave. The 4 of them quickly ran. They knew that things weren't good. The opponent's senior had appeared. Normally, a monarch wouldn't attack a junior. Of course, this junior had to be a monarch's disciple. If he wasn't, then he wouldn't have so many scruples. The opponent obviously knew that Lei Xingfeng was a monarch's disciple, so he just blocked the way. If there were any problems, he would let his disciple solve it. No matter who won or lost, he would still have some leeway. Once a monarch attacked, it would mean an all-out war. A war between secret sects was the cruelest. No monarch would be willing to do that. So the old man didn't stop Lei Xingfeng and the others from leaving. The 4 of them flew for about 100 miles. Jean Dia said, "What do we do now?" The opponent is too shameless. They actually sent out a monarch. Lei Xingfeng said, "What do we do?" "Cold sauce." F asterisk CK. If they push me too far, I'll summon the Grandmaster. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he wouldn't dare to summon the Grandmaster. Jean Dia heaved a sigh of relief. If the Grandmaster came, they would be safe. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love were also shocked. They didn't expect a monarch to appear. From this, it seemed that Elder Thunderstorm had pushed the opponent too far. They actually sent out a monarch to block the way. Lei Xingfeng thought for a while and said, "There should be a contact point for us in this area. Uncle Ling, think of a way to find it. We'll ask the sect for help." Once a true monarch appeared on the other side, then it was necessary to ask for help from the sect. With a true monarch on the other side, even if he didn't make a move, the pressure on him was too great. Before the battle even started, he had already lost half the battle. The old man sighed and said, "These bastards, I don't know what they're doing. They can't even see through this little trick." As he muttered, he kicked the low-level disciples one by one. Every disciple who was kicked immediately woke up and looked at the old man in confusion. They didn't know who this old man was. After a while, a large group of cultivators flew over from afar and rushed over. The old man scolded, "A bunch of idiots, idiots!" When the group of cultivators landed, the three leaders immediately recognized the old man in front of them. They were so scared that they went up and saluted. The old man scolded, "A bunch of F***king idiots. Brainless maggots." They were played like a bunch of idiots. Only now do they F***king know the importance of Lewin spots. "Ah, you're usually so talkative, but now you're all F***king mute?" The group of people was sweating profusely. They all lowered their heads desperately, wishing that they could shrink their heads into their chests. After a round of scolding, the old man finally stopped and stared at them. The leader of the Ninth Ring Sage said, We were wrong. Did they escape?" The old man's anger, which had just calmed down, was ignited again. He went up and kicked him to the ground. He kicked him hard and scolded, "How can you be so stupid? How can you be so stupid?" With every sentence he said, he stomped on him. That person held his head and screamed, I was wrong, I was wrong." The group of people was so scared that their faces turned pale. Then they heard the old man say, "Do you think I came here for nothing? With me here, who can escape? Idiot, idiot." The group of people was excited. Since they didn't escape, they could hunt them down. Chapter 224. The old man saw the joy on their faces and scolded, "What the F***ck are you still thinking about? Go after them. They're still standing there like corpses. Scram! Scram!" The group of people was so scared that they ran out, even forgetting to fly. The old man shouted, "Damn it, where the F***ck are you flying to? This way. They flew this way. Go after them. Why are there such a bunch of idiots needing an old man like me?" As he shouted, he began to mutter. The group of people heard him and immediately turned around. The leader of the Ninth Ring Sage said, "Why is Ancestor Tang here?" The person beside him said, "Who knows? Maybe the second master invited him." The leader said, "Sai, we've been scolded so badly. Let's hurry up and catch up with those four bastards. This time, we can't let them get away." Someone said, "That's too hard. They're not ordinary sages, 3 Ninth Ring Sages and 1 Seventh Ring Sages. Even if they don't use Lewin points, they can fly away. It'll be hard for us to stop them from leaving, unless we can stop them." The leader shouted, "No matter how they escape, we have to chase after them." The group of people chased crazily. Lei Xingfeng and the other three flew like crazy. After flying for a while, they immediately turned and flew north. To them, the first thing to do was to get rid of their pursuers. A monarch brought too much pressure. Although he didn't make a move, he only showed his face once, and the four of them were already frantically running away. The difference was too great. It wasn't something that could be solved by risking their lives. Jean Dia scolded, "This is too bad. So F***king shameless. A monarch came to stop us. I don't know which secret sect he's from. A phone. Let's ask our sect for help. They won't give up. Only a monarch can deal with a monarch." He was also terrified. Fighting a monarch was basically suicide. Mad Eagle said, Let's find our sect's contact point and send the news back. Lei Xingfeng said, Okay, let's tell Master. He had no choice. Encountering such an unruly monarch, he could only ask his sect for help. Tiger Love said, That old guy is too bored. He actually bullied us juniors. Damn it. The Huey continent's terrain was extremely complicated. The majority of it was mountainous, with very few plains and lakes. There were also two large rivers that originated from the snow mountains in the depths of the Huey continent and ran through the entire Huey continent. The two large rivers were extremely famous in the Huey continent. One was called the Chuan River, the other was called the Kashi River. Lei Xingfeng and the other three were above the Chuan River. Jean Dia identified it for a while and said, This river should be the Chuan River. Well, if we follow the river, we will soon find some small sects or ordinary people's residences. This was the middle reaches of the Chuan River. The water surface was wide and the river channels were dense. Small rivers from all over the place eventually converged into the Chuan River. Looking from above, the Chuan River looked like a twisted centipede. Countless small rivers converged, and those small rivers were like the centipede's feet. There were quite a lot of them. They followed the river downwards, and soon the four of them changed direction again. This time, they were flying east again. Lei Xingfeng pointed at the Chuan River and said, There's a boat below. It was a small boat, about 7 to 8 meters long. There was a shed on the boat, and a person sat at the bow. There were people rowing at the back of the boat, and they slowly moved along the Chuan River. Jean Dia said, Let's go down and rest. Let the boat lead us for a while before we leave. Lei Xingfeng was also a little tired. They had been rushing all the way and had used up a lot of Yinli. He said, All right, let's go down. The four of them quickly descended towards the boat, drawing 4 shadows in the sky. In a flash, they appeared at the bow of the boat. There was a young man sitting at the bow of the boat. He was holding a pot of rice, and when the four of them suddenly descended from the sky, he was scared half to death. Lei Xingfeng saw that the young fisherman was so scared that his eyes were unfocused, and said, Don't be nervous, we're just passing by. Can we rest on your boat for a while? The young man was quite smart, and he did not dare to disagree. Of course, he knew that the people who descended from the sky were cultivators. He said, You can do as you wish. Lei Xingfeng flicked a golden hoop and said, Count it as our rental. Follow the river downstream. The young man hurriedly said, All right, I'll go inform father. He grabbed the golden hoop and walked towards the back of the boat. Lei Xingfeng and the other 3 sat cross-legged at the bow of the boat to rest and ate some dry food while they were at it. The world was very big, and it was extremely difficult to find 4 experts who had escaped. Therefore, Lei Xingfeng and the other 3 leisurely sat at the bow of the boat and went downstream. They did not even bother to hide, and just sat at the bow of the boat. Lei Xingfeng stared at the river in a daze. He was thinking about how to find Elder Thunderstorm. Just like how the Immortal Rock sect found them, it would be extremely difficult for him to find Elder Thunderstorm. Jean Dia said, Are you still worried about the pursuers behind us? Lei Xingfeng shook his head and said, No, even if they catch up, we have the confidence to leave. I'm just thinking about Ai. I don't know where he ran off to. Jean Dia nodded and said, Yes, I'm not worried about the pursuers either. I'm just worried about whether that old man will make a move. The population was not large, less than 10,000 people. The town was very cold and cheerless. The cobblestone streets and the river were very simple and crude houses. At first glance, one could tell that this place was not rich. There were no high-class restaurants here. Most of them were street stalls. The 4 of them wandered around a narrow street, trying to find a place where they could gather information. However, from the end of the street to the end of the street, they did not see a big restaurant. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, Let's go back. I saw a stall just now. Let's go there and eat something. The 4 of them turned back and soon came to the stall on the street. It was a small restaurant that took up half of the street area. There was an open room with a white cloth hanging on the eaves to shade the sun. There were 5 or 6 shabby tables below. It was noon. The smell of food floated out from the back of the room. Only a few local residents were eating. Lei Xingfeng and the other 3 walked into the room and occupied a shabby table. Jean Dia dragged a few benches and called out, "Boss, boss, we have guests." There were no waiters here. It was a husband and wife restaurant where the boss personally entertained the guests. The woman was cooking in the back while the man was in charge of carrying the dishes and washing the dishes. Moreover, there were only acquaintances here. There were very few strangers here. The owner of the small restaurant was a middle-aged man. Although his clothes were shabby, they were very clean. He took out a rag and wiped the table while asking, "Dear guests, what do you want to order?" Jean Dias said, "What else can this small restaurant have? Serve the best dishes and rice. Hurry up, we are hungry." The boss's face showed an awkward expression. He said, "Dear guests, it's better to order dishes, otherwise I really don't know what to cook." Lei Xingfeng said, "Is there anything delicious in this small restaurant?" The boss said, Yes. We have dry pot grilled fish, stir-fried prawns, stir-fried screws, grilled fish segments, steamed grouper, salted pork clam, fish head tofu soup, and the local specialty, fragrant rice." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.